everyone, and welcome back to the Disc-ussions, where we talk movies, music, and everything in between. I am your host, per usual, Adrian, aka Move Mantis, with my co-hosts, who are still here, apparently.
Yeah, I'm Daniel, and I just took a bite of a Nature Valley bar.
I'm Hunter, and just me? Things getting crazier out there.
Hey, you're telling me, man.
All these movies fucking suck.
But Daniel had a great suggestion beforehand to kind of continue talking about the Fallout show that we kind of only really half reviewed. I don't want to spend too much time on it, just because I really don't have much more to say about it. And since I'm really the only one who watched it, I'll kind of just take the helm and just say, you know, what I want to say and just get it out real quick. After watching, I think when I initially talked about it, I was only like 3 episodes through, and then there's 8, I think. So I was only maybe halfway. But even with the other half in mind, from what I remember, a lot of my criticisms still kind of stand. Most of the characters aren't very well written, and I don't think a world is explored enough, or not even explored, I should say. More, the tone of the games isn't really explored or set up too well. I also think that a lot of the sets are all a little too green, you know, for a place that, you know, just got bombed by, and if we're going by like 1960s counts, like 60,000 like warheads, you know, for a world that was like, you know, bombed to shit. There's a lot of fucking green trees and like bushes, and I get, you know, maybe budgetary shit in some areas that they wanted to film in, they couldn't make it look all bombed out, but I don't know. Yeah, it's been like 250 years or whatever, but I don't know. Still, this shouldn't be that much like greenery. There's just a little too much green for me. And then just, man, I think initially I said, oh, Maximus was one of like the more characters I was interested in. But after watching the show, dude, that motherfucker's like a psychopath. Like, he is like, I don't know, he just does nothing to redeem himself, and he just acts like a psycho the whole time. But you're supposed to be like, oh, well, I understand, because he wanted a place to belong. And it's just like, no, that's not how that shit works. You know, dude, you're just a selfish, like, crazy person. Like, literally. Like at this point, like, literally, like, he steals something from like, so they visit, like, this vault. I'm not going to give too much detail, but visit this vault, and he steals something, and then they leave. And then, like, she has, like, the vault girl has to sit there and, like, convince him to, like, give it back. But it takes, like, a lot of fucking, like, convincing. But it's just, it's supposed to be, like, this moment where he's like, well, I guess I shouldn't be so selfish. And then, and then later he just does something just, like, even worse. Like, it's just like, bro, did you not learn from that, like, fucking 2 seconds ago? Or, like, I don't know. Yeah, it just gets no better. I think I initially also said that I didn't like how they were setting up Vault-Tec in the show. But after the end of the show, I did like it a little more because they explained it and showed a lot more stuff from the past that I liked. But yeah, like, for the most part, most of my other criticisms stand. Watching those last few episodes didn't really change my opinion very much. And at this point, it's been like a month, so I can't even really hardly remember what even fucking happened. I just remember, like, the ending being kind of And, like, there's this, I'll call attention to this one part because I remember. There's this one part where she literally gets, like, one of her fingers cut off, and, like, she has, like, no reaction to it. Like, nothing. Like, she didn't scream, or it's not even like she's on drugs, or like, I don't know, she's, like, hardened by the wasteland at this point. Like, no. Like, at this point, like, she's just now, like, basically having it tough. And, like, this is supposed to be her, oh, the wasteland's not for everybody kind of moment, you know? Mm-hmm. And she gets her finger cut off, and she's just like, oh, that's it. It's not like, oh, my, oh, oh. And I'm not saying, like, she's got to, like, you know, scream to holy heaven or anything, but just something. But, like, she just doesn't react kind of at all. Just kind of like, oh, I just watched my finger get cut off right in front of me. Oh, that's crazy.
Well, I mean,
But other than that, I
there's
can't.
a reason Walter Goggins has bigger roles than these other two leading actors.
Yeah, I see why. Because he is literally the best character in that show, and honestly, they should have just gotten rid of the other two guys, and just made it about him. That would have been just like far more interesting. Because man, those other two fucking goobers. Goddamn, like I struggle to say one nice thing about either of those characters. I guess I kind of like how the Vault, they have their own. It's not like they have their own society, but they have their own like mannerisms. Like they're not as violent and they don't really curse too much. And I did like that aspect of it because of like the way they grew up in an underground vault and the way the Vault society is. That's just how they are. And when she goes up to the surface, to the wasteland, she's still kind of that same way. And even throughout the series or the season, I should say, she still kind of got that upbeat, kind of corny, like personality to her, and I did like that. Yeah. Besides that, I really don't know who the show is really for. The only thing I can really think of is it just feels like it's really pandering to a specific Fallout fan, a post Fallout 4 modern Fallout fan. If you're a fan of the old games, you won't really like all the lore stuff they do. But if you're new and only played like Fallout 76 or something, like half the shit they say or half the shit they do, you won't understand why they're doing it or how they're doing it. So it just seems very, I don't know. Yeah, it just seems like they're really just like pandering to the most basic like Fallout fan to me. Yeah. So, because it's just like I said, if you're new, you can't get into it, and if you're an old Fallout fan of like the old games, you won't like it because they do a lot of lore changes that are really just not good and just seems very haphazard. It seems very like, oh well, this was set up in previous games, but we don't really want to do anything with this, so fuck this shit. And just, oh yeah, thanks for following the first like 3 games, or first 4 games, but fuck you.
But this is made with a different audience. At least it's like sometimes it takes a while for like certain franchises to find their footing, and like all the imagery from a given franchise was developed over like years and years of stuff, and like trying to put all of that and combine like different eras and stuff, kind of like sort of like what the Uncharted movie did, where it was just like a greatest hits list of like set pieces, and it's like it's not from any like one like story from any of the games. It's just like, well, I mean, if you recognize this property from afar, you will know of this imagery. And I feel like that's probably the audience it's going for. Yeah. To a less insulting degree than like the Halo show, where it's like this is for people who know about Fallout, but it's not really like for hardcore fans of Fallout, because like where do you even start without just like taking a long time to actually get to the stuff that people like, about.
And then people who've seen the show probably know what I'm talking about, but it's not even that I dislike so basically there's a faction that's a long-running faction throughout the series that they get rid of. Like, completely. And to me, it's not even the fact that they got rid of it, but to me, it's the way they did it, and just the very lore and accurate way they go about explaining why. Basically, there's an over-government body eventually that arises out of the wasteland. And it was a bit of a staple since like Fallout 2, and it's been a lot of the games, and it's a big like faction, and then they totally get rid of them, like completely. And just the way they do it, and just how they go about explaining it lore wise, I think whether you're talking about it lore wise, or even just in the context of the show, it's just very frustrating. And even I also get that like not everyone would be frustrated with something like that, like me, because I'm a long time fan, like long time. Like, I was playing this shit when I was like 8 years old, even though I probably wasn't supposed to be. But even from like a writing standpoint, not only that section, but just the show in general. Like, even if I ignore all the lore stuff and I just look at it just as like a show, it's still like completely poorly like very shittily written. At least from like a plot perspective. A lot of things just seem both convenient and so this had to happen because this needed to happen. You know, like this character made the decision, so this could, not because they're actually a free thinking human being, but because the plot needed them to make it, so this could happen. You know, and again, whether I just think whether you're looking at it from a fan perspective or even just like a TV show perspective, I think either way you look at it, it's just poorly written. It's a poorly written show. I think the sets are good. I think everyone looks great visually, like all the suits and even the waistline, even the parts where I said, oh well, it's a little too green for me. I wouldn't think it'd be that green after like 200 years. Dude, that there's like I saw some recently, like the Chernobyl disaster area. That was just like a disaster. That was just like a reactor, right? And that shit won't be able to be inhabited till like 2300 or something like that. So like 200 years is not enough for like trees to grow, or at least not non-mutated ones,
Once again, I've seen 0% of the show. Direct all your hate mail towards Adrian 411.
I guess I'd give it a. Actually, you know what? I'll be nice. I'll give it a 6, because I just all the ghoul stuff is good, like his stuff and his backstory and what he's doing and why he's doing it. That's all really good, actually. But yeah, I think besides the Fallout show, I think there's actually been a lot of good TV coming out. I don't know. I know before we started recording, you mentioned Smiling Friends.
Yeah, I'm all caught up on that.
I will admit, though, I am not liking the second season as much as the first one. I really think, I don't know, and maybe it's just the way the show is. And I actually started watching a similar show, and I don't know if I've told you this a bunch of times, but I know I've told Hunter a bunch of times. I just start watching shit at the right time. I always do. For whatever reason, anytime I pick a movie or a show to watch, I'm always needing to watch that show at that moment for whatever. I don't know. God or fucking Zeus or whoever the fuck is up there.
But what do you mean by that?
Like, I mean, anytime I watch something, I usually can relate it to. It's usually very, very similar to either something else I'm watching or something that's happening in my life.
That's the algorithm, bro.
Yeah, like they just know. They just know when to recommend me things, or I know when to watch. I don't know, I can't even say it's the algorithm because I pick these shows. I'm like, I haven't watched this yet. Let me pick this. I'm like,
think you picked
oh shit! Like I literally am going through this right now. Like so something I'd compare Smiling Friends to that I actually started watching recently is Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law.
I've been watching a lot of that too.
Because recently I've had a lot of free time on my hands lately for no particular reason, and I saw on Max. I forget on Max they have basically all the Adult Swim shows, and besides Space Ghost, Harvey Birdman was literally one of the shows that like put Adult Swim like up on something. Like put it in the kind of eye of a lot of people.
Public eye, yeah. Mainstream.
Or at least I wouldn't even say mainstream, just like kind of got it out there. Well, that was like one of the key shows that really got people's attention. But I'd seen Space Ghost, which is like the main show that kind of did that for them. And I've always been interested in watching that one, and so I had watched it recently, and it's a lot similar. It really is a lot similar to Smiling Friends.
Yeah, the dialect.
Yeah. And but where my problem comes with that show, and it really comes to me with this second season of Smiling Friends, it feels a lot like nothing's happening. Like nothing happens.
I don't think that's a problem at all, but I'll let you finish first.
It's more that there's not really plots. Things don't happen. Like, things happen, but they don't happen at the same time. You know what I'm saying? It's like the things that are happening are just vehicles to tell jokes. Like, they don't really do anything. Like Pim and Charlie or Harvey Birdman. Doesn't really solve the case. They don't really do any kind of tasks. Shit just kind of happens, and they make jokes out of it. And I think at a certain point, me personally, I find that kind of boring. Because, like, if I wanted to hear just jokes, I'd just watch stand-up. right? But I'm trying to watch a show, like, with characters and plots and stuff like that. And that's where I think the second season is really, really lacking, is in its plots.
Well, I mean, what was the overarching,
You know,
like hook to the first season? That
to me, it was the smiling. It was, we go somewhere and something happens with the client we're trying to help smile, but eventually, no matter what happens, at the end he smiles and we did our job.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a lot more... and maybe that's just because I'm more of like... And I said that... I don't think... We weren't recording, I don't think. But I said this earlier where I'm much more of a traditional storytelling type of person. Very much prefer stories with more traditional characters and plots. But also, I can appreciate things that are more... this is what I was looking for earlier. Avant-garde or something a little less traditional. But like, for 15 minutes... but that's the other thing. It's like a give and take. But I can understand that they only have 15 minutes and they can't really do a whole lot in 15 minutes, and they'd rather focus on funny jokes than, a good plot. But something even like Aqua Teen, which is like 15 minutes, can come out with funny 15-minute plots that don't make a lot of sense, but it's still structured. I think that's what it is, really. It's just the structuredness. It's just not as structured, and I just don't find that as... I
don't know. I find Aqua Teen more aimless than Smiling Friends.
So what I'm gonna add to that is, so like Aqua Teen definitely is aimless, but like it's self-aware in their writing.
Yeah.
And like it's like their jokes just feel more like kind of clever. Like there's some Smiling Friends.
Well,
jokes.
I
think that's
like...
just our differing tastes. I don't think Aqua Teen is bad, but like I feel like there's only so much I can take of Aqua Teen at once, which I think is what it's designed for. It's like there are a lot of shows than you realize that are just kind of meant to be in that 20 to 11 minute slot, and you are not supposed to binge them, because if you like... And I respect that. I think that's perfectly okay. Not everything needs to have like, this like, oh man, I gotta know where this goes next, or like, this, and there are plenty of amazing shows that aren't necessarily connected to each other with this overarching plot that are still bingeable to me.
And I'm not even saying like an overarching series plot. I mean more within the episode itself. Like, again, to me it just feels like they're just doing random shit for jokes. And nothing actually really happens. They don't really actually do anything.
I feel like they're still...
But something like Aqua Teen at least there's at least a plot to it, like Shake, getting that... have you ever seen that episode with like the Boost Mobile? And he has like a deal with Boost Mobile, and it's just... that's the joke for the whole episode. Or Shake finds that like brood sandwich, and they just have to deal with it the whole episode. Like, that's what I mean. Something like... I guess that's the thing. That's what it is. It's the joke is the episode. It more feels like in Smiling Friends, the jokes really come at you like fucking TikToks. Like fucking like that. And then like everything else they're doing is pretty irrelevant.
I would
say... They
could
be like shitting in the middle of a fucking like wrestling ring. And, that's what they do for the whole episode, but you're mainly focusing on the jokes. And I get that. And, I'm not even saying that it's bad. It's just, to me, I just find it a little boring. I find it, because like, I guess the best example was that President episode. Like, dude, that shit was really fucking boring. I really found that, like, there was like a couple of good jokes. And I also feel like, I don't think I've said this, and I've been meaning to say this. They, especially in the second season, I didn't really notice it in the first one until I look back on it, but they really do it in the second season. They are really trying way too hard to be like Oni Plays. Like,
there are a lot more kind of obvious ones, but I mean, again...
And it's just like, I don't like Oni Plays, because I really only find Zach funny. I think everyone else is pretty unfunny. But they can be funny if they want to, but it's like a kind of cherry pick. I'm not going to watch like a fucking... like 30-40 minute video for like two good jokes.
I understand.
A better example.
I do love them, and it's not.
And that's fair.
I don't think my enjoyment of Smiling Friends is dependent on Oni Plays at all. I think when references do come up,
I just don't think he should be trying to imitate something that really only kind of works. Kind of what we were talking about. I think we were also not recording. We were talking about this. Damn it. But like, it works for YouTube. It works for the internet. It works for people fucking eating and need to watch something, or working on homework and listening to it, right? It doesn't work in a 15-minute like show, I feel like. At least to me. I mean, shit, it didn't even really work with me on the fucking internet. I don't. That's why I don't listen to fucking OnlyFace.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't find enjoyment of like guys playing video games and making funny jokes every maybe like 30 minutes. It's just my type of, and I also recognize I'm not, you know,
I completely understand.
I have different humor, and I don't really laugh at things that most people would probably laugh at. Not saying, oh, I'm actually an intellectual and I like clever, funny, what-wouldn't jokes. No, like this is joking fucking Aqua Teen, where it's like literally all this guy says is kill yourself, and I just find that like incredibly fucking funny. For like no, it's just the way he says it, and just like shit like that. Like I can acknowledge that I don't have the best sense of humor, but I think just to me anything like that, like Oni Plays, or we were talking about earlier about other internet people who got shows. I just feel like something like that really only works on YouTube can't really translate into like a TV show. Like the one I really felt it at was the one in the, I think not this most recent one, but the one before that where they meet Mr. Boss and he fucks around with them, and it was like Jared from Subway.
Oh.
He comes out and Charlie gets like really mad about it for like no fucking reason. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
But then like the dialogue they exchange after, where he's like, "Oh, you got me with the little dog face dude." He's like, "I got you with that one, man." That really felt like they were really trying hard to be like Oni Plays, and I was just like, "Oh, that's just kind of cringe to me." Just like, oh, you're really trying. You're trying too hard to imitate something, and that's the other thing I can appreciate about Only Plays, is that they're not setting anything. They're just dudes talking.
Mm-hmm.
But like when you try to script it out like that, that doesn't really. That just doesn't work. I don't think.
I feel like it's paced properly, like much better than like most shows that try to do that, where it does sound. It's especially funny to me because the world is so chaotic that when people are talking so casually, and honestly I can definitely relate to a lot of the way that they talk. It doesn't sound so try hard all the time that it really gets on my nerves, even if it is like, because even if I am aware of just how he talks with his friends on Oni Plays.
Yeah. And
it also balances that out with enough, like, you know, again, just like completely insane characters that are absolute, like, you know, just complete caricatures of people, like vaudeville villains, or like, you know, just that straight up like sick animation character. They're whenever like someone who talks so realistically is interacting with someone who is a literal internet character that is not rooted in any sense of like reality, those interactions are very interesting to me, and like, you know, hilarious. And I would say that you're definitely right. Season 2 doesn't have like, okay, every episode has to end with a smiling person every single time.
It's not even just that.
But I think they do have enough plot in every single episode to be like, okay, this isn't just completely unhinged. Because I mean, I also love like Xavier Renegade Angel, and those are like that like survives on complete tangents of like, we started here and we wound up like completely unrelated, and like, did anything really get resolved? I don't know. It just kind of like stopped because like they keep like it feels like like how they talk on Oni Plays, where they're riffing on each other and building and constantly. I mean, but Xavier Renegade Angel is a lot more like calculated and like scripting that kind of stuff, and it's not really trying to be realistic in the slightest in the dialogue or like, you know, anything. There are no rules in that show, but the way it's able to like kind of connect these completely unrelated events without you really noticing it because it's going by so fast. I really like that kind of stuff, and I feel like Smiling Friends is a more accessible version of that. Because, I mean...
And maybe it's also just the fact that, to me, as well, that the joke can really kind of just... And I don't mean to... Because you can, like, whittle down anything to its basics and be like, oh, see... you know, that's why it's bad, because it's just this. But I'm like, oh, you're just thinking of it in like a very basic way. But I don't know, to me, a lot of the jokes can be whittled down to doing something really fast or do something really loud. And that's kind of the only two jokes a lot of the time that they make. But that's why the jokes that aren't like that, like, to me, stand out like the most. Like the one with the landlord. I think that joke's fucking hilarious. I've been saying that to everybody like for the last like month. Just like, oh, you want to come over and fill our bellies with diet soda and play Burnout Revenge for the PS2. Like, I've been saying that shit for the last like month. But like, something like that's probably like my least. I actually think that's like just a bad episode. Is the Gimli one, the President Gimli one, where they helped like the fucking president. Like I genuinely think that's like a bad episode. Like I can't really even think of like a joke that I actually liked in that. I guess because there's this one where he's just like, oh, turn the TV on, doesn't matter what channel. Like, well, that's like a reference to him saying that and like an Only Plays thing. But that's like the only reason I find it funny because I know what that is, you know. But I also just find that fucking. Oh, there's also another joke in there where it's after like it's like Pym, he's helping the president. Like Charlie's just like walking around the White House, and he walks into that room with like the worms, and he's just like, oh yeah, you know, frogs. I thought you wouldn't like Mr. Frog. You know, he eats worms. Like Mr. Frog eats worms. It's like, how do you know this? It's like, he looks it up. He's like, oh yeah, you know, like Google says, you know, Mr. Frog eat worms, or frogs eat worms.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't even beat you over the head with it. He's just like, oh yeah, no, I'm totally impartial here. I don't care what you guys are doing. And then he says like, he's like, you know, I'd personally give my vote to Mr. Frog. You know, I like Mr. Frog. I watch the show. Like, you know, I like the part where he eats the bug.
He eats the bug. That's what it was.
Yeah. And then like he's like he eats bugs. Like, or like he doesn't like beat you over the head with.
And then later they have that joke where it's just like, okay, what about you, Mr. Frog? And he's like, oh well, hello. And they're like, oh, okay, time's up. And plus you're wrong. Like, that was kind of funny. But other than that, like, I don't know. I just find it very, very fucking boring. Like, it just wasn't very funny, and maybe it's just because like the whole joke with the president, and I hate gross out humor. There's like barely anything except maybe like farts. Those are like the only things like that I laugh at sometimes, like a good fart joke. But yeah, him being all gross and stuff, that just like grossed me out. Like,
I love that stuff.
Like,
I've seen enough like Lloyd Kaufman and like. Who's he, like James Gunn, like early James Gunn, early Peter Jackson, where it's just like it can definitely fall flat on its face, but I feel like there is pretty good stuff out there that at least clicks with me to where it's like it's the kind of committal to it, and it's not just like, I don't know, it's not like it has zero other things going for it, where it's like at least show me something that I wouldn't see often, you know.
Yeah, I was trying to say earlier, I think a better example than Aqua Teen would be like regular show, because like I don't think like, oh, your runtime is an excuse. Like regular show does 15-minute episodes, and like
just something like, with a beginning, middle, and end. Something that you start at in the beginning that you complete at the end. Like, I don't know, and I just feel like they don't do anything like that.
I feel like we differ on that because I think
mostly just at least
I don't feel like
season.
I don't feel like it's that aimless to where that was a problem.
Yeah.
The only difference I see is that they don't end every single episode with like a smile accomplishment thing
with a thing. But the thing that's kind of driving me to like season 2 less, because I agree with Adrian, I like season 2 a lot less. I don't think it's like terrible, but it's definitely.
Oh no, it's definitely one of the better things still on cable TV. Rather than like, I don't know if you're watching. This one's been out for a while. Royal Crackers. It's also on Adult Swim. That one's very. That one's very Brickleberry kind of humor. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like. I'm not saying it's bad. It really isn't. And I mean,
I like regular show because even if it's just a bullshit episode, like, you know, and there are a lot of them, especially in the early seasons. It's just like they have a very simple objective. Like, literally, there's an episode where they just try to get cake, but they don't have any money because they're broke, and so they just try to get free cake, and they just try to find ways to do it.
Yeah, and it's nothing that has to be like they don't gotta go to space or fucking like. You know, quell like an intergalactic like war or anything like that. It's just like something simple like that, and where you just set up like I just feel that's probably like because I haven't really been thinking of the word for it, but what you said was probably how I feel. I feel like it's very aimless. Like they just kind of do stuff, and the plot and what they do is really just a vehicle to tell jokes. But like I think the jokes really hit like. Maybe like 75% of the time for me, and so when they don't hit, it's just like, okay, well, what was the point of doing that?
For me, it's less of the plot and more the characteristic of the characters. Like all the Smiling Friends are solid. Like everybody likes Alan and Charlie and Pim and Mr. Boss, and like I guess Gleb's there.
Yeah,
but like he's like kind of like background humor because he can't talk. So like, what I have a harder time enjoying is. Like in season 2, it doesn't feel like there's like these kind of clever characters. It just kind of all sounds like Zach doing a witch voice, like kind of altered in some kind of way, and or they're like really overly expressive, like they're like I'm talking, I'm saying something, and it's just really loud. And
yeah,
it's just,
that's what I meant. A lot of this shit can be willed down to just either screaming something or saying something or do something really quickly. And those are like that's probably, I would genuinely say that probably makes up like 50% of the jokes.
But so like when in regular show, like when they like the episode where they try to go get like the stick hockey table, like and it turns into like this crazy battle to the death for the stick hockey table, like that episode's memorable because of the guy. The guy's like I literally killed thousands of people over stick hockey. Like that's stupid. But like it's just like all these characters they run into are just like either completely insane, crazy people, like I thought the aliens in the Alien episode were kind of uninteresting because they were kind of just like assholes.
Dude bros.
They didn't really have any like. They don't really have anything that like really like makes them stand out. I like the Alien episode, but then there's some, especially like some characters that I feel like their whole character was just them kind of like screaming stuff. Like that's why.
I really think that's the demon girl or like Satan's daughter from the second or third episode. I really thought. Like her one-off joke is that she's ugly. That's it, and that's kind of it.
No, the only.
And I really just it just feels like they're hinging everything on these jokes, and if they don't hit, then like the whole episode's just fucking boring. Like that, the worst ones to me are those two episodes with the President Gimli one and the when Mr. Boss marries like Satan's daughter. I see those are like the two worst ones, and well, probably the two worst Smiling Friends episodes in my opinion, because. They just don't have like it just feels like nothing happens and there are no good jokes, and I think I said this. I didn't say this because we didn't have a podcast then, but I said this about the first season that I liked the first season, but I think they have to do a little more with the characters and the plots to get it kind of to that place to like an Aqua Teen or a regular show or something that's supposed to be comedic or even like South Park. Something like that, and that's why, honestly, that's probably why the Zach's voice doesn't really bother me as much, just because
Trey Park,
I've watched so much South Park that I just like half the fucking characters are just Trey or Matt going, oh hey, I'm character A, what's going on?
No, I don't mind Zach doing that. Like all his voices are funny. Like him doing like the PS2. Like that's funny. Like, that character specifically, that episode, like because we're talking. I don't want to just talk about everything I don't like. Like I really do like that episode a lot. Like we're just trying to get the paper clips, and it's like there's a more set objective in that episode. And like even though it goes totally off the rails, and you're like, I spent $700,000.
$700,000 and paid actors and animatronics.
I'll put you into the palm of my hand.
But like it feels like
I've been also telling people to like you ant. I've been saying that to people too. I thought that was also really funny.
But it feels like the Devil's Daughter like marrying like Mr. Boss, like there was kind of no point to doing it other than she was just trying to like kind of like suck his soul. But then like when they kind of catch her, she's just like
and then like the plot resolves itself. I guess that's like the probably prime example of that was that episode. Just they walk in, she says something haphazardly that was supposed to be funny, I guess, and then she just kind of dies. It's like, oh okay. It's like that. I'm just left thinking, like, especially with the second season, I'm just left a lot of the time at the end of episodes being like, okay, that happened, I guess. Not just kind of in like a very blasé kind of. We're not even like that was random, that was crazy. Just like
It's just been a little predictable. If they're just gonna have the plot solve itself, where Charlie and Pym don't have to do anything.
I don't know. Just make it a little more clever than just her being and just jumps out the window for no reason.
I definitely feel like Charlie and Pym put more effort into actually trying to help the people they're trying to help in season 1, and like season 2, they just like they don't do anything.
They just literally don't do anything, and I think that's just that's really it. What's frustrating to me is just like it's either you like the jokes or you don't like the episode. That's kind of what it comes down to, at least in my eyes. It's like the episodes completely, at least a lot of the ones in the second season, completely hinge or completely depend on their jokes. And if something's not well written, like I think like the President Ghibli one or the Demon Girl one wasn't you're left with just kind of a boring, nothing episode, like a piece of bland, burger.
It's just not like a clever plot. Like, it's like a
and it's not even that it has to be clever necessarily.
Mm.
It just has to be well written. Like
I mean,
that's what I praise.
Is
and
being clever. I mean,
but I don't know. To me,
you can't write the same thing.
I've also been watching a lot of SpongeBob recently too, and I'm just amazed in those first couple of seasons how simple a lot of the plots are.
Mm-hmm.
Like Patrick and SpongeBob and Patrick find a dirty word and start saying it. That's the plot. Mr. Krabs feels like an old man. That's the plot, and it's just something simple like that you can expand, and feels like they're not really doing anything. They're doing one thing in a simple way, and then making surrounding that plot or the main joke of the episode with other jokes, right? But everything hinges on that one joke at the beginning of the episode,
So I think,
and again, it's not all episodes. It's not even that first, which is funny because I don't even really feel like that about that first season. It's just really the second season that I feel like does that a lot. I like the show. I really do like the show. I think it's really cool to see these guys that have followed for a really long time get something. Especially favorite episode, Mr. Boss. I love Mr. Boss, but that's only probably because I've been following Mark M, the guy who plays Mr. Boss. He also does sick animation on YouTube. I've been following that motherfucker since I was like 13. And I've always thought he was funny, he has a good voice, he should be on something, like a show or a movie or something. And I'm just so happy he's like on a show. Because he's unbelievably funny, he has a great voice, and he's a good animator too. So, love Mr. Boss. Love me some fucking Mr. Boss, sick animation. I mean, one of my favorite jokes in the entire series was the one from this mad scientist one.
Yeah.
And it was the sick animation one with the goblin. No, fucking.
I realize how little
I freaking love you, man. That was fucking unbelievably hilarious.
See, there's cheeky stuff like that. That's funny. But I was gonna compare it. I'm not gonna say all season 2 is like this, but I'm worried that they're headed down this trajectory. It's new age SpongeBob. Like new age SpongeBob, I'm sure there's a good joke or two, or like Squidward says something like that's relatable, that's like funny to an adult that a kid wouldn't get. But like in terms of like the structure, because they usually structure an episode around a character's dilemma. And that's what they did a lot in season 1. Like, Desmond feels suicidal because he has no meaning to his life. But like in some of these episodes,
Pim and Charlie have to go to the Enchanted Forest to help somebody, and they end up, doing something else.
Even the Alan episode works so really well because it's just he's just trying to get paper clips, but it's like the mundane, frustrating things of just trying to go do something simple, turning into something chaotic, even though it was just completely out of his hands. But like, there's just the episodes where there is kind of no objective to anything, or like the aliens had no objective, like they were just dicks, like and that works because they're like dude bro characters. But if they just did that every episode, it would become kind of like predictable. Like if just every character they come across is either going to be like a crazy asshole or like just like insane, then that's going to be less interesting. Like I like when they come across characters that feel a little like, even if it's just the tiniest bit more rounded, like the one guy that they come across that's like, you're trying to trick me, man. Like, it's like, even though they don't really spend a ton of time with that character, and that episode's not even about him, it's like you can kind of tell like he's not just acting crazy because like because being crazy and loud is funny. It's like he's some like gangbanger crazy dude on the street. Like you could meet some like crackhead and it'd probably be like that. Like it's over the top definitely, but that's most of the show. But it's like I just don't want them to lean too much into over the top and making noise, and like actually having
opposed to having a joke, and like there's actually a joke, with this character. There's just something more than just I scream or yell.
I think the way you guys are describing it is like pretty interesting, because like the Enchanted Forest, for example, that's one that has it's just this like they have this one goal and then it's the jokes around it, because the many adventures that they go on like surrounding that, you could argue have the same kind of structure as episodes in season 2, where it's like, yeah, they're just going to kind of do a bunch of random stuff until they like meet their simplistic goal of just like finding the person that they got to make smile.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it's differing expectations. Or like, I'm not gonna pretend like, oh, you guys just don't fucking get it, man. Like, this is funny, you. But at the same time, I feel like Rick and Morty had the same kind of omens where it's like, okay, we kind of understand the pattern of comedy now.
Yeah.
And if you keep doing this, even though it's not really bad by itself, if you keep doing
do
this
for
a long time, it is going to eventually get old.
I think that's what it is. I just feel like the show's getting real stale real quick, and they gotta write some or look some or make some ways to spice it up, because it's getting to the point where it just, at least to me, feels a little formulaic.
I personally care less about the structure and more about just like characters. Like, you introduce a good character, and
I think they're still pretty strong.
And you just do none, like, you don't do any of like their reference jokes. You don't reference Doug Walker or whatever. Like, you just make the jokes about like the Desmond episode's perfect because like they don't really reference anything. Like, they kind of just make the jokes about the theme of the episode. And it doesn't have to be like, oh, you can't reference anything. Like, you know, every show references stuff. I just hope they don't lean too hard.
Maybe that's why I didn't like that, because, man, they really held on to those references in that Demon episode. There's like 50 of them, and they're all either like Oni plays or internet related.
And I guess it's like depends on what kind of a person, like what kind of viewer you are. Where it's like, are you like kind of annoyed by the fact that it is a reference, or if you were to watch it like fresh, would that really hold on long enough to be distracting?
Like, I'm annoyed
enough,
it's like, hey, it's funny because it's in the same scene. I found Doug Walker being on there hilarious because I know who Doug Walker is and he's a goofy guy.
And it goes by fast enough to where it's like,
but like the whole internet doll thing and the jump scare at the end was just like completely unfunny and honestly just kind of pissed me off. I was just like, it was just so unfunny. I'm like, you're just trying to scare me, I guess that was the joke, was that I get scared, or I was expecting a jump scare and then you jump scared. What? Like, I don't get what they were trying to go with that, and that just kind of pissed me off because it felt like a waste of time.
I don't mind them
to me, it's that one specifically felt more, even more than Duck Walker one. Like, oh, see, this is from the internet. Yeah, you know this. Don't you know what this is? It's from the internet. Everyone knows on the internet knows what this is.
I guess, but because it is like an internet reference, it has that like kind of undertone of like.
But that's the thing.
I don't want to see this on network television, but at the same time, it doesn't bother me as much because it goes by so fast that it doesn't have time to linger. Like, you know, like what show had like Logan or Jake Paul on it? Was it like Law and Order?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I think so.
It
was like NCIS. Or they had Justin Bieber on there.
I was just gonna say that I don't mind the references. Just I feel like them doing references is taking up too much time to kind of expand the characters. Because like the Devil's Daughter is easily the most annoying, like just uninteresting, like stupid.
Very
character.
unfunny.
Like, the only joke that she had was when she just acted kind of like more of a human. Like, cause she like cries and like that like they were gonna kill her, and then he's like, oh, like I'm sorry, and then like and then she's like, well, I was doing all that stuff, but I just can't believe you guys would want to kill me. Like that was kind of funny because she's just like self-aware that she's doing something completely wrong. So like, but that's like the only time like it was ever like kind of like interesting or funny. Like the rest, any scene with her was just annoying. Like it wasn't like funny or like.
Yeah, it's a hard line to walk because it is that the joke is that she is annoying and that's why no one likes her. I thought like one of the funniest parts of that episode was just that simple sign that like no one acknowledged that was just like live, laugh, love, and just like that times 100 in the entire room. It was like that stuff is funny to me, and I honestly that was like just one of my favorite episodes. Not only because of like the like it's kind of it's a little redundant to say like, oh, like the animation was amazing, but I thought that was one of my favorite like episodes stylistically.
I think that's probably.
I thought it was successful like creepy without being like you know, again, like you're not taking anything seriously, but Zach definitely understands like how to make someone uncomfortable, and I feel like that one did a pretty good job, and that makes it even funnier to me. And like just like the way they handle references, like I've seen just like so much terrible like online stuff and TV shows and movies that are referencing online stuff. That's just like I've seen the worst of it.
Worse.
Definitely, I think the first season has like much more subtle references to YouTubers that work within like the plot of the episode, and it's not necessarily like have I seen that guy somewhere? Am I like missing something type thing where it's like I can understand that like kind of bothering people, but I still feel like it's doing it significantly better and at a consistent quality to where I don't feel like we're dropping off like drastically at this point. I think it can fall off. It can definitely eventually fall off. But as of now, I think that they've kept the momentum going and how they make these.
Yeah, and honestly, a lot of these criticisms really only apply to those 2 episodes. Honestly, because I feel like from what I'm remembering, all the other episodes are pretty solid. The scientist one, Alan.
I don't think you're gonna like the new one.
I didn't see the new one. I thought the alien one was all right. It was kind of teetering on that edge of they're kind of just wandering around aimlessly. But again, there's actually like some actually funny, pretty good.
I feel like that one does have like a goal because of like we have to get off the ship and we're trying to appease them, and it's like a progressively more and more uncomfortable situation where it's like I don't want to. Yeah, it has like this kind of this significant enough threat to where it's like, okay, we don't know what these guys are capable of. We don't want to like make them mad. To where it's like, okay, I think there's enough going on here. It doesn't feel like, oh, we're just like doing whatever.
Yeah.
Just to be like funny by itself. I feel like it hasn't fully like lost its way in terms of just like we don't know like but there's no like.
And I mean, like I said, I still think it's a solid show. The season's mostly pretty good. It's just those 2 episodes specifically. Just kind of highlight a lot of the problems I have with the show. Even in the first season, just all highlights a lot of the problems I have with the show. Like, I'm not like a lot of the other people. I really not. I really don't think the show's perfect at all, or think it's like the high art, best Adult Swim show ever. I think it's maybe like, I don't want to say mid, because it's not mid. I'd say like upper mid, probably.
I think it's all perspective, because, I mean, you guys love Aqua Teen Hunger Force, and like I respect that show. I don't think it's like complete like, oh, this is such low brow. It doesn't really.
It's just quite shallow and pedantic.
Oh no, I think that.
I think as far as like what how you grew up with Adult Swim will be the way that people grow up with this show, and it deserves the status it has. As far as I'm concerned, like right now,
it's a crowning achievement for people, especially pretty cathartic for people who've been on the internet
and artists and like animators specifically,
artists or animators specifically on the internet for like a long time.
Yeah,
it's very cathartic to see something like this be made, and honestly, that's probably the only thing about that episode, the demon daughter, that I liked was the way she looked and how she contrasted with kind of everybody else. And that's what I really like about the show. It's just they're not afraid to use completely different art styles and like all in the same scene.
Yeah.
But you can still tell what's going on. I mean, dude, like in that scientist one, when the brothers have the discussion, he literally dabs them up, but like nobody knows,
like, because they wouldn't know how to make those two work, and so he changes into the animation style.
Except for his head.
And then they get into like a fight, and they're like, he changes again into that, because that's the only way you can like make
really
that
do that.
Work.
But I like that, and it's interesting, and it's cool, and it makes it funnier when you do shit like that. And I guess that's what I more mean. I want more of that kind of more brazen, trying different things and doing different jokes in different ways than just kind of. It just feels like episodes that are very haphazardly, not even haphazard. How do I more just not as well written. There wasn't as much focus on them. There wasn't as much. Okay, we're getting to this, so we can make this joke and. So we can get to this, and that'll be the end of the episode. That's what I mean. Just the plots, again, just feel like vehicles to tell jokes, but nothing more than that. But when you have, I don't know, I feel like you can still have a good plot, or at least something slightly interesting, and make good jokes without having to sacrifice your main point of the episode. And again, I'm really just talking about those two. I have the President Jim Lee one and the Demon Daughter one. Those are really the only two ones I can think of with stuff like that. And all the other ones have been pretty solid, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I just would hate for them to do more stuff like that, because they're like, oh, well, this is like the 3rd episode in like 10 episodes, so we can maybe save some shit for the next one. And I just don't want to, I just don't want it to go down like a lazy road. I don't want them to, hinge on the same things I feel like they have been. I want more innovation. I want them to try more, or not try more, but like try different things. Then I feel like they're kind of doing the same things over and over.
That's saying a lot, like try different things, because it's already so innovative.
Yeah,
but I guess writing wise, I can see where you're
I'm not
coming
even
from
saying about the animation. I'm more saying I think that's what really more I'm hinging on is the writing. I think like the jokes in the animation are most of the time pretty solid. It's just the plots mainly. That's where I kind of, if you whittle it down, that's kind of my main thesis, my main goal for this TED Talk here is it's really just the plots. And if anything, it's really just those 2 episodes. I just would hate for them to keep on this trend of, oh, well, the jokes are good, so we don't really have to focus on what's actually going on in the episode.
It's not like...
And I'm not even saying they can't make references either. It's just the way you do it. And that's why I pointed out that scene in the Demon Daughter episode, because it has 2, just one's really well done, and to me the other just isn't at all. Like if no one knew who Doug Walker was, I feel like they could still find that joke funny, because it's he's like a crazy person, and he skips the video to the end just so he can see what happens. Like, that's funny. But like the whole doll joke is literally hinged on just your knowledge and if you know what this fucking thing is. And that's it. That's what I don't like. I don't like one note like jokes like that where it's just, oh, reference. That's the joke. The joke is, oh, this is from the internet and it's scary. That's it. That's literally it. And I'm not saying, like, I just said earlier that I like fucking fart jokes. Like, but I don't know, just something like that where it's so niche and so, like, and I guess that's the audience that are watching it, people who are on the internet know, a lot of this stuff, but to me that still doesn't, it doesn't make up for just, I don't know, just how unfunny and stupid I think that shit really was. I just kind of rolled my eyes and I'm like, oh, okay, and then they did the jump scare. I'm like, oh, so scary.
There's 2 things I actually did like about it. If they had just not mentioned the mannequin, just had it there, that would have been a lot funnier. Like, but Alan's like, oh, what is this? Like, oh, well, it's from the internet. Like,
no, I mean, he said he was holding on to it.
That's the only funny thing about that is that, it's the thing from my uncle.
No,
I'm holding it from my uncle.
They should have just said nothing. But
just done that, just went half-handed. Like, I think it was the jump scare that really made me like, oh, that was just wasn't.
No, but I was about to say, but I do like Alan's reaction to it. He's just like, I knew he was going to do that. Like, yeah, like, it's just, I don't know, it's just funny that he expected it. Like, he anticipated it. I don't know. That was the only thing that I thought was funny about it.
Yeah.
But the jump scare is obnoxious.
Yeah, a little bit.
I don't mind the mannequin reference. I just wish they didn't acknowledge that it being in the, like, being there.
Yeah. I just wish they would have done something a little more clever. Like, I thought, again, that's why I think it's so crazy, because it's in the same scene, in the same, like, 2-3 minute span. Like, I thought that Doug Walker thing was, like, hilarious, and I thought it was well done, and they gave him a character, and they even had little jokes within the joke, and so the whole joke wasn't, oh, I'm Doug Walker. Like, that's that's what I have a problem with the fucking doll thing. It just wasn't funny, and it hinges on you knowing that it's from the internet. It's very bland, and I think that's what at least the jokes I don't like in a lot of the episodes whittle down to. It's just like a very one note, blasé kind of kind of joke, It's not even saying everything's got to be this old fucking Rube Goldberg machine fucking 50-layer joke, but I mean, something like that to me just comes off as very, like, lazy and ham-fisted.
Well, I mean, clearly
I still
you
like
haven't
the show.
seen Free Guy, so
yeah, no, I guess I'm not.
I haven't
seen the peak of comedy, fucking Free Guy.
But yeah,
wasn't that movie hilarious?
I don't know.
But just to sum up, I I still think it's going pretty strong. I think the reference comedy is a lot better than it usually is when like they try really hard to make this stuff work.
That's fair.
I think it works a lot better, and they always. It's never just like okay, you need to understand what this is from the internet, or else you will not understand what's going on in this episode or whatever. Like Family Guy does that a lot, where it's like you have to know this Amadeus reference, or you're just not going to get anything out of this. Yeah. You're just not. I feel like
I don't know, but
that's the golden rule, where it's just like you attach real jokes to what you're referencing that fit within the episode. It might stick out like a sore thumb to people who know it or don't know it. But it's still something that you believe is in the context of the show, and it's not just like let's just stop everything for this.
Yeah,
it's so much faster paced that it doesn't bother me as much. So I think that it still works very well. But with the all this is just like kind of speculation. Like it could potentially get worse if they keep doing this this exact same thing over and over again. As crazy as it is, as creative as it is. It can eventually wear thin a lot like Rick and Morty. Yeah. Where it's like there's nothing much more to this. And I feel like where Rick and Morty faltered, at least half of it, not just the comedy, where they faltered was like not really picking a side. Like, okay, do you care about the story? Because you're like kind of putting up a middle finger to the fans who do care about it in some parts, and that made people fall off to where it's like, oh no, we're gonna resolve this, and then like everyone's gone at that point. And it's like, okay, do you want this to be episodic, or do you want me to care about this? Yeah. If you're kind of like messing with people to that degree, where it's like you gotta like hit them at the right times.
It doesn't make me want to come back and watch the show. It makes me not want to watch the show at all.
Yeah.
And I think that's what more they were trying to go for.
Yeah, it was a combination of like repetitious comedy and like kind of Game of Thrones style. Like, oh, this
you're gonna get this plot, but like
the further it goes on, it's like oh, this is subversive, and it's just like, well, I mean, if everything is like subversive, then it's not.
You're trying too hard.
Yeah, it's like sometimes it legitimately just isn't satisfying.
Yeah.
And I know that like Rick and Morty, like I haven't caught up with it in like a long time, but they do eventually like resolve things. At this point, I'm just not that interested because I feel like I've kind of seen everything that the show can do, and especially at the state it's in now, where it's just like, well, I mean, the main voice is like off of it, not just like the voice of the characters, but like the voice of the writing.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't think it's like terrible, but it's not interesting enough to like.
I think the most recent season was pretty good.
Yeah, but it's just not. Like I feel like it was something completely different in those first few seasons, where it's like this is like, you see why this stands out amongst like other like adult animated shows, and it wasn't even like because of like incredible animation, although that's improved over the years. It's just like that it's another show that like referenced a lot of stuff, but also like kept it pretty within the show. It had like pretty casual like dialogue that people felt a little bit more relatable to than compared to like a lot of other shows. But yeah, it just kind of shows its whole hand after a while, and it's like I'm not one to be like super disappointed. It's just kind of a fact that it's not as interesting as it once was, and what it once was more special. And I can still appreciate it for what it did. We're just kind of trying to like understand why something like this couldn't sustain itself for being as good as it was.
I mean, I think that's the thing with Smiling Friends that I'm kind of thinking about, is that it's heading kind of in that direction a little bit. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn or anything. I'm just thinking I'm a very observant person, and I've just had a lot of times where I can predict things pretty well. Like I could see things coming, or I can see certain shows or things or whatever happening and going a certain direction, and I just fear that they will focus more on the things people quote on Twitter than the actual like kind of goings on in the episode. They're more looking for quotables, more Twitter clips, more things that people could see on fucking TikTok than like a whole encompassing episode, But yeah, I mean, I say all this because I like the show, and I like the show, and don't get me wrong, I just complain about it for the last like hour, but I mean, I really like the show. I think it's clever and funny and interesting, and probably the best thing on TV right now, like actual cable. Probably the best thing on there right now, honestly. I say this because I like the show and I want it to get better, and I don't want it to get worse.
Right.
Not like me saying anything will really do anything, but I mean, critiquing a show that's why you critique a show. Because you don't like it, it's because well I can recognize these things are bad, but can also recognize the good. Yeah.
But
I mean, yeah, unless I don't mind either way.
I
think we have enough time to talk about like at least one monkey movie.
I don't think
or
me and
Furiosa.
Daniel are gonna have a nuanced disagreement about Furiosa, whereas like I think Smiling Friends took a little longer just because we all kind of viewed it different. But what do you think of Furiosa?
I thought it was definitely good. I want to see it again because, again, like I'm not a Mad Max fan, so I understand that like every movie, for where it started and like up to Fury Road was like very different. Like they're not all Fury Road, and I feel like if I watch this again with the context of how they were paced in those earlier Mad Max movies, I'd be able to appreciate it a bit more. Although I still think it's good. It's just like kind of like expectations from Fury Road to this. It's like I feel like at this point you eventually have to make some compromises with like visual effects, and like I still think like even though it is a step down visually from Fury Road, where it's like this is a lot more noticeable, and I don't think it's quite meshing as well because like again like the first three came out in the 80s and they're completely like practical from what I know. And then like Fury Road comes out, it's able to hide its CG better, but like again most of it is just like really there, and that's like extremely impressive. And in this one I got like a bit of like visual whiplash, that it was just like it was a little bit harder for me to connect as much to what was going on. And again like the goals are completely different, where it's like Fury Road, it's like it is the action and it has enough there stringing you along to like care enough about the characters and what they're going through, but its main priority is the action. This one is a lot more focused on the character, and it spans over like I want to say like a couple decades, or maybe not a couple decades, but like pretty much like a good decade of Furiosa's life, to where it's like
no, it's definitely a couple decades. Like it's literally her from like 6 years old to like probably her like 20s.
I guess so, yeah.
So at least 2 decades. But yeah.
The point is that it's a whole, do I want to say like Odyssey, where it's like their priorities are much more focused on that than it was in Fury Road. And I guess it kind of comes down to like, because I heard someone compare it to like Fury Road is Kill Bill Volume 1, where it's like that's where the bulk of the action is. And while there's still action in the second one, it's a lot more slower paced. And I guess my only disagreement there is that I'm not as connected with these characters as I am with the characters in Kill Bill, where it's like I can like let them pump the brakes on that story, specifically because I love everyone that they set up, and like the height they took it to, I think it justifiably like slows down in order for you to like understand this character better. Whereas this one, it's just like you kind of start out with an okay character, and then like you go into this and it's like all those characters are perfectly functional for the story, like absolutely perfectly functional. I have like no real complaints, like any of them drag it down. But it's just like I just have to be honest with myself at a certain point and be like, I don't necessarily love this person that much to be completely on board with what they're doing here, like or like just fully invested. I appreciate the attempt, I appreciate the goal, and I feel like if the filmmaking were more grounded and practical as the Mad Max movies before it, or just like it was just able to hide those visual effects better, just like make them less obvious. I appreciate like the scale it's going for, but it just kind of like falls flat for me personally whenever it doesn't look as good as what they've done before. I understand, but I don't have to like it necessarily. And again, I think knowing what it is going into it again would really help grow my appreciation for how this movie plays out. And it's not like I don't understand why people are loving it, But yeah, it's just like, I just have to be honest, like at a certain point it's not as, I'm not as invested in this one as I was in the last one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that Furiosa is pretty solid. Like, probably a 7, 6.5. Just because none of the characters and none of the writing are particularly bad. And I actually really like that they don't really have Anya Taylor-Joy in it that much. Like, yeah, she's the forefront and it's from her point of view, but she's kind of just there. Like, she's got her motive or whatever, but it's like she has her objectives. But it's like it genuinely felt like I was seeing more of like their kind of world and economy than I actually really was like seeing her really go through anything. Like, she kind of just has a clear-cut objective, just from, spoiler, the moment that her mom gets killed, she's kind of just got one goal, which is vengeance. So it's like, you can kind of put her in the backdrop in your mind and kind of just watch and see how the world is. Because Fury Road, they're on the road the whole time, so you don't really get to see kind of how they operate in the wasteland. And I did like that. But what I kind of think the story got killed was, it feels weird that they have Chris Hemsworth character there at all for him to kind of just eat shit and die. Like, he seems like a lot more kind of collected and clever at the beginning. Like, he's kind of like, especially when he kind of fights for her at first. Like, I totally forget the villain's name, but the guy with the really
Immortan
cool,
Joe?
Yeah, that's right. Morton Joe's like, oh, I want that kid. And at first, Hemsworth is just like, no. Like, that's my kid. It's like, it's weird that he's kind of possessive of her. And you think, like, it would go somewhere. And then it kind of doesn't. Like, especially, like, when, like, the firefight goes crazy and, you know, her cage is getting lifted up in the air and he, like, saves her. It kind of made you think, like, oh, maybe he had some kind of moral compass about it. Like, maybe he did feel bad about killing the mom. But, like, you know, he's got to be a tough leader, and he thinks, like, there's some justification for killing people. But he kind of just turns into, like, a less interesting Heath Ledger Joker, I guess. He kind of just, like, I know that sounds weird, but he kind of just is there to cause chaos. Like, that's kind of all he does.
I wouldn't completely say that. I think he's kind of trying to, like, climb that corporate ladder, that corporate Mad Max ladder, where he's trying to, like, rise up in his ranks and, like,
less of in his goal. Like, I agree with that. Like, he really did want to, like, just take over and be the alpha. But it's like, that's kind of what he just ended up doing. He kind of just ends up just causing a bunch of chaos, causing a bunch of people to die, and then kind of just running from the mess he made. And then he's just like, shit, all my guys are dead. I guess I surrender, I guess. Like, and it just feels like their conflict, like Furiosa's conflict with him, kind of means a lot less than all the damage he did to everyone else. Like, it was almost like the world and Immortan Joe's, like, society actually felt more interesting than Furiosa, like, herself.
Yeah, kinda. I would pretty much agree with that. But again, like, I like a lot of the things that they're going for, where it's like, it kind of reminded me of the Northman, where it's like, oh, this guy, like, killed my father, and he usurped his kingdom, I think, from what I remember. It's like he took his entire, like, life away from him, because it was the brother. I think that's why he wound up ruling. And then the main character returns back to him, and he pretty much, through bad management, just, like, lost his insane amount of power that he had gained from the beginning. And it's just like, you get to see, like, oh, this guy, like, he's just kind of a normal guy now, and, like, I've been dead set on this one goal my entire life of avenging my father, but this guy is such a different person. And it's like, it kind of puts into perspective, like, okay, once you know more details about, like, why the brother killed the main character's father, and, you know, did what he did, it would almost be like, if you saw the movie from his perspective, you would be able to see, like, oh, he actually kind of works as a savage for sure, but just as savage as the main character. He would work just as well as a protagonist. And, like, it makes you think about, like, what just, like, a little bit of perspective can do for, like, who your main character is and like how people change over time and what that means to like kind of let this like one thing consume you your entire life, and then like by the time you get there it's like
bittersweet.
Yeah, it's like bittersweet because like it's just not like this thing that you built it up to be. And I think I just feel like the Northman kind of does a lot of what Furiosa is trying to do, and let me check the runtime for that, because I know this one is it's like 2 hours 20 minutes. Furiosa, yeah, it's almost the same length. It's 2 hours and 17 minutes. The Northman, and I mean that speaks volumes. I mean I just think that I was able to connect a lot more to that movie.
Yeah, I like the Northman. I watched it.
I was just able to get like a better grasp of the antagonist in that movie than I was in this one, where it's like, I think everything like functions like pretty fine. There are some things that are just kind of undercut by like, oh, she got out of that one and now we're kind of onto a different thing, and it's not like completely like, you know, aimless, but at the same time it's like they have these like setups that are a little bit undercut for something else that, you know, sometimes get resolved, sometimes don't, and you get like kind of this I was getting this like, oh, I guess we're just kind of done with that, at least for like a really long time. Yeah, and it sort of puts you in that headspace with her where it's like, I mean, as soon as you go back to it, it doesn't even feel like as satisfying as you thought it was going to be. Which there's purpose to that, you know. There's people are also pointing out the war scene where it's like that the narrator is going on about like, and then there was like this crazy war, but you don't see any of it, and it's just like, okay, I get that that's supposed to be like, that's not the point of the story. I wouldn't want it to like devolve into like this, you know, Zack Snyder ending where it's just like everyone's fighting and it just goes on for like way too long. I understand the purpose of not focusing on the war is because it is completely about Furiosa, and yeah, she just doesn't really have a hand in that, or like really care about it as much as just like finding this one guy. But at the same time, it's just kind of like, I don't know, like I just kind of wish that wasn't even in there, because it's just another thread that like it doesn't feel as developed as I kind of want it to be, where it's like it's in there, but it doesn't really like mean as much. And I feel like you have a whole different movie about like this struggle for power and like, you know, just like everything falling apart because like this one guy was able to like weasel his way into it.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I feel weird about, is like there's some stuff I just kind of wish there was some resolution on, like in a more satisfying way, like especially because they do this weird shot. It literally feels like a movie poster shot. It's like Dementus coming up to Joe. I forgot
Immortan Joe.
I don't know why it's so hard to remember that. It's Immortan Joe, and they're literally like face to face, like Mortal Kombat. And I was like, oh, okay, so like we're gonna see kind of who's the better leader here. And then, you know, Immortan Joe won't die because it's a prequel, but he's like, oh, okay, like this could be interesting. You know, Dementus is like a worthy foe, like because he's cheeky and smart, and like could actually you know topple things for Immortan Joe. And then they kind of just don't go anywhere with that. Like he definitely seemed like a lot smarter, like during that negotiation scene. I said sheen.
Hey guys!
And it was cool. Like he has like that little weapon thing, like the spring thing. He's like using that guy as a hostage, and he like was smart enough to like basically strong arm him into like letting him run like the gas town. And then it's just like he used all of his smarts there, and then just stopped being smart for the rest of the movie. And then
looks like running Gastown was harder than it looked.
Yeah, pretty much.
And he's gonna have to learn.
And then she
did me. She's.
I like the ending. Like it makes sense. It's like, oh, okay, like the themes are like, oh, it's not really necessarily about vengeance. And I like how he's kind of like, yeah, we're kind of both just wastelanders, like trying to like make it, like that's what you are now. Like you're kind of like me now. And he's like not trying to say it in like a
pleading,
like in a dickhead way, like oh, look what I did to you, like look how I ruined your life, like but it's just kind of, he's just like, yeah, being in the wasteland sucks shit, like I just lose, like you beat me. And it's like, I do kind of like the way she chooses her revenge, like planting like the tree on him, like was pretty like crazy. But it was just like, it feels like it wasn't like as achieved. Like she kind of gets him too easy for me personally. Like I feel like there's not really much conflict for Furiosa kind of by the end of it. Like the last big conflict she has is like that gunfight at Gastown or at the Bullet Farm, and then that's kind of it. And like you know, her boyfriend, or I guess not boyfriend, but her partner, there's some suggested feelings there, I guess. I mean, but like gets dragged around on a motorcycle, and then for the rest of it she kind of just kicks ass and beats him really easy. And then really everything he did seems to not really have affected the Citadel place as much as I thought it would. Like they say there was this big war, and it's just like, what was the point of it?
I guess what they're trying to do is like kind of acknowledge it, like this is what would happen if you just like a thing like gas in the wastelands like falls apart. Like that's a big deal, and this would happen, but that's not the point of the story. And again, completely understand that, but it's just like this thing where it kind of like it doesn't really have that much of an impact on me as a viewer. How many people this is affecting? Whereas like in the Wastelands, it's like everyone's just kind of the same. You don't really care about like the starving people or the you know, the thirsty people necessarily. And another missed opportunity I thought this was, especially considering how much they doubled down on this leading directly into Fury Road. I thought a missed opportunity was her developing a relationship with the girls she winds up saving. I thought that was going to be like a pretty big part, and then they just kind of like put that on at the very end. Like, yeah, they were established. You know, you could see her, you know, wanting. You could see why she would want to save them, but it's also feels just like kind of disconnected from this.
Yeah.
And I feel like that would have been like a great idea for at least being part of this movie. Would you know. Having her like meet these girls when they were younger, you understand, like I guess it's not always about like, oh, like I have to have this personal relationship with these people to do the right thing, but it's just like, yeah, how they ended it, and when that weird like clip show at the end where it's like going through bits of Fury Road. It's like, why?
Yeah,
it was all leading up to this. I mean, not necessarily. I mean, if you just cut all that out and like even, you know, just like didn't even end it with her rescuing the slave girls from Immortan Joe, it wouldn't have affected much like narratively in terms of like kind of an impactful ending. It would almost be like better if it was just like her like she's coming to her own, and she, you know, it just kind of ends with her like looking exactly like Furiosa. But like it ends with that, and it's just like, well, I don't feel like this is necessarily earned, her like saving the slave girls in this particular movie. I understand why she would do it. It's just like for this story, it's just like I'm not getting really anything, any kind of emotional reaction out of this. Whereas in Fury Road, I thought that was a great place to start from. Like you immediately get it. You immediately understand why they would, you know, want to leave. You don't got to know any of them to just like, you get the situation and you completely like sympathize with them. But yeah, for this movie, it's just like, well, I mean, I know.
I think you actually just bumped my score like a tiny bit. I think I'm just gonna give it like a 6.5, maybe. I'm gonna just say there, because like everything's fine. It's solid, and I really actually did like a lot of the fight scenes, like especially like them.
Yeah, they're not bad. They're definitely not bad. That's great.
And I like all the tech they added on the car, so it's like they do all crazy stuff, and that was fun to watch. It's a fun watch. Just if you could just completely not watch it and watch Fury Road, and Fury Road's just a better movie, or you could just never see Fury Road, watch Furiosa, and it's still just a fine, digestible, okay action movie. And I really think the only thing that makes me struggle to like this movie as I put it on the same playing field as Fury Road is just, it feels like they establish some stuff and then don't thoroughly execute it, or like they execute it in an odd way, like almost like they're trying to tell kind of some themes of like the wasteland, but it's like, I don't know. There's just some things they could have done to be more satisfactory to me, like especially just not showing the whole fight scene and kind of Chris Hemsworth kind of just getting beaten and toppled really easily. Like, it was just kind of unsatisfying to me.
Yeah, it's not necessarily how he's defeated, because I feel like I completely understand what they're going for. It just doesn't really click with me. And other movies that have either done it in a shorter amount of time or have done it in just like, I suppose it kind of comes down to just like, yeah, expectations for, like, it's just straight up not a Fury Road, and comparing them in that way is, in terms of goals, is like missing the point. But at the same time, I think if I were to watch this again after like not watching any Mad Max stuff, or maybe even just watching the original 3 first, and like kind of getting a much better understanding of how these movies play out compared to what everyone loves about Fury Road, and it's just like I'm able to like take in the world a little bit more and not feel like I'm just waiting for like the next action scene that like more or less grows numbing after a while. I think it's mostly expectations for how it's paced that impacts a lot of how I feel, because I've seen, you know, I love a good revenge movie, but it's, yeah, I feel like this kind of falls a little bit flat in where it matters most, even though it's not doing anything particularly bad. I completely understand why people love it. I just wish I could feel what they feel.
But honestly, you know what would have just driven it just a little bit, like, just a little bit better, like, probably about my score, maybe a whole point. It's just, Anya Taylor-Joy just wasn't so fucking boring. Like, I'm sorry, but she's just literally only good in one movie. And no, it's not The Witch. I literally think anybody could have done her role in The Witch. I think The Witch is a fine movie, but I think anybody could have done her role, just like anybody could have been Wonka. She literally just kind of reminds me of girl Timothy Chalamet, just young actor who's instantly recognizable and just has a bunch of work, just back to back. Like, we'll just continue to get work. And I really just think that like the character of Furiosa is just kind of like flat. Just kind of just doesn't have anything to say. Doesn't have anything to really like feel out loud or even like kind of on her face. I mean, she's just kind of like, I can't wait to get revenge. Like that's kind of it. She doesn't really have any other feelings or motivation, which is kind of weird that she comes back to save the slaves. Like, she's just like, why would you really care about them? Like, you didn't really give me a suggestion that you cared about anything besides your vengeance.
Because it was right after her vengeance, I guess, and you know.
I mean, like the whole growing the tree.
I guess
thing,
Desmond just needed to find something to live for.
I guess the whole
Yeah.
the whole. I just got what you're saying. I was just saying though, the whole growing the tree thing shows like, oh, I'm gonna like find a way to like turn it into a better thing, like and so like she kind of turns to make a good decision instead of just being another Dementus. But it's like all the themes of like a good story are there. It's just there's parts that get kind of like stale, and it's just because her acting is boring. They were just like, okay, you just walk into the scene and now you just turn right, you look up and down, like, and you maybe make a face, like, I don't know, this doesn't really do anything.
A lot of that kind of comes down to the you know, just Furiosa as she was portrayed in Fury Road. It's like I just don't think there's not much for me to work off of, like, her personally, even though it's not like she has 0% going for her character. I think it's just like under different circumstances, this exact same motivation and character arc, it works. It's more so just like the person going through it. I don't really like find that engaging, and I don't think like she looks much like Charlize Theron. Charlize Theron? Charlize.
No idea, never seen it.
Yeah, Charlize Theron.
Oh, so this is a girl from Fury Road, and they just got a different girl to play her?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh. I didn't know
It was
that.
supposed to be younger.
It's because it takes place over the course of like a chunk of her like childhood to adulthood, so it's
Okay.
yeah.
Oh yeah, she's not in like 45 minutes of this movie.
Oh, damn.
Like, I remember it took a while for them to actually get to Anya Taylor-Joy.
It's if it were like a completely unrelated movie.
Damn, really?
For Mad Max, I feel like I just would have seen it through a different lens. At least it's not really dragged down because it's part of Mad Max. Again, I'm not going to pretend like I've seen anything besides Fury Road, but it's just going off of that high. It's a huge amount of whiplash that I at least will grasp better watching it a second time.
Yeah.
And again, I want to see it a second time. It's not like it leaves nothing for me to like think about or like nothing for me to appreciate. It's just how I felt watching it wasn't as engaging as I hoped it would be. But it leaves enough for me to want to return to it. So I appreciate that much about it.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I just it seemed weird to want to just like try to kind of do. It seemed like they were going to set up things and then kind of just not do anything with it. That just felt kind of disappointing. Just in terms of like her and Dementus's relationship, like, but it's like a solid 6.5.
So yeah, there's that. We also saw.
Oh, wait, did you give your rating though?
Oh, I just wanted to sidestep. It's just like I feel like it's 6 out of 10. I just don't want to. I don't want to come off like it's so mid, I just don't want to. I don't want to come off that way. I just.
It's mid. It's mid, and I mean,
I think mid is negative. I don't know where people started like taking. Like,
mid's just okay, Mid's like it's mid, it's okay, it's not terrible.
People are only offended
but
by
it's,
mid when they think something's great.
Not
like,
great.
Yeah,
but hey, I guess that's the thing though. Especially nowadays,
there's
you'd
like
rather
a bitterness that's connected to mid because people love it so much,
and you'd rather be either really bad or really good. But to have just be middle of the road, it's just kind of
It's just the thing is that it's not even middle of the road. It's just barely above it, not barely, but like it's above it enough to where it's like I really want to love this. I really want to love it, and I don't think it's bad. But I can't deny that I didn't really get too much emotionally or like just like spectacularly out of this as I was hoping, even understanding that it wasn't gonna be just like Fury Road all over again. But just like just 6 out of 10 doesn't. It's not the public school system. It's not a fail. It's just my level of enjoyment was more than middling. Just above that.
Better than getting poked in the balls. Not as good as this next movie we're about to talk about.
Yeah, better than Bad Boys for Life or.
It has.
No. It's Bad Boys Ride or Die.
I don't even know why you know that. It's definitely better than that, or like The Beekeeper, or any other like shitty action movie. I definitely watch this movie again.
That's better than better than most action movies that are coming out right now.
Mid. You guys are saying this like this was like a terrible movie. I don't know. I think we watched different movies here.
Oh no.
But Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter. I recommended that last time. For whatever reason, I watched this like 10 or 15 times when I was like 12 or 13. I don't know why, but I did, and I just remember this movie very vividly. And I thought I'd give it a rewatch because I haven't watched it in a long time. And I don't know, I felt about the same. I got mild enjoyment from when I was like a kid, and I got mild enjoyment from watching this. I don't know, it's just a really stupid thing to do, but I feel like the best thing about this movie is that I don't think they take themselves too seriously. It doesn't feel like that at all. Like, it's serious to the characters.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole tone of the movie isn't going, I don't think, really going for, like, oh, isn't this really sad? Isn't this crazy? Man, isn't this so passionate? And people are dying. And, no, it's a movie about fucking vampires. And Abraham Lincoln. Like chill out. Like, yeah, I don't know. I really had fun. I don't really have as you could probably tell by the way I talk about them. I really don't have fun with movies, but man, this movie was fucking fun. Like, I don't know. I enjoyed the heck out of watching this fucking movie. Because it's so cheesy and lame, but also has actually some really cool parts in it, and just also some just really dumb shit. But yeah, I like, I do like the initial setup, like, him kind of living in the South, and, him cartoonily, like, you know, kind of standing up for, like, slavery and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I like in the beginning when I wrote this down too because I was just like, what the fuck was that for? He's whipping that kid, and like he's whipping him. He's like, ah, and then like for 2 seconds it shows the whip and
in
the whip,
CG.
Yeah, it's like a CG whip and it turns into like a snake. It's like, wow.
Yeah. It was like that part from Amazing Spider-Man 2 where it turns into the hand to like accentuate the evil of this of this whip. It's like a snake
and
for like
it's a snake!
A really short second. It's a cartoon.
Wow. It's just like, why did you do like? It just seemed kind of goofy to do that for no reason, and they just don't do anything like that for the rest of the movie.
Or when they do it, it's just like fairly infrequent. For as ridiculous as this movie is. When it does like truly just like outlandish stuff like that, it a lot of time has passed to where it's like it sucker punches you.
Yeah.
Like the horse riding scene. Oh my. Okay,
is that when he goes back to kill that the guy who killed his mom?
Yeah, spoilers.
Oh yeah, spoilers. When you haven't seen Abraham Lincoln, the Vampire Hunter, after like 10 or 12 years, I'm sorry, you're just not gonna watch it.
So
but yeah, spoiler.
Abraham
Spoiler
Lincoln.
everything.
So his whole thing is
His
that
origin.
is that his mom is killed by a vampire, and as he grows up...
Okay, and then also, too, they established that these are basically just vampires, right? Like, basic vampires you see in anything, right?
Yeah, except for the silver stuff, which is, like,
yeah,
a little bit annoying.
Well, I mean...
Which is, like...
Yeah, because, well, it's supposed
that's
to
more
be
of a
like
werewolf
but
fuck it.
what I'm getting at is they're supposed to not be in sunlight, right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they say that, don't they?
They specifically say, but they're sneaky. They can turn invisible, and they've even learned how to like go in sunlight.
Okay, they do say that.
They say that, but it's still like this is this is lame.
Like how? Well, like just say that they just did. not I don't really explain how they did it. They can.
We needed lighting for the shot.
We can't have them not be in sunlight because that's another thing. Because clearly they can't fucking film anything at night because from what I saw in the movie, nothing is actually filmed at night.
Nothing's like dark. It's,
no.
Except for like even the action scene where he like specifically shuts off the light. This is an ugly ass movie. Like everything is so like they try. I guess they tried to go for this aesthetic of like this is a really old photograph that's like really like brown. And maybe if they like put a little bit more,
everything's either really brown or really blue.
Yeah, but it's just super like digital looking and just like gross. Oh yeah, no.
I wrote down here like
the color grading is just so like one note that again as I found the movie more entertaining than I thought it was going to be. Visually, it does get tiring whenever it like loses steam. It's like, oh my god, I feel like I'm watching like a reenactment from like PBS. It's really it is so. Like,
that's probably a good way to put it.
I'm getting exhausted just by looking at this right now.
But no, like there's that scene where they go to meet the head vampire guy, and he's with that guy. The shop. I'm just gonna say guy a lot because I don't remember. I remember Abraham Lincoln. That's it. So you're gonna hear me say guy and that dude a lot, but that dude who he's partners with in the store and he lives with. That guy's also
hold on. I have to ask this.
Yeah.
Is that a real person in Abraham Lincoln's life?
I don't fucking
because
know.
his name is Joshua Speed.
I'm pretty sure that like the only person who's actually a real person is Meredith Elizabeth Winston, who plays his wife,
and I think her fiance, Stanley Tudyk.
That they don't really establish. I like
Alan
how,
Tudyk.
I like how she's like with him for like 5 seconds, and then like, no, I'm with you now. Not really. I don't know why I was dating that guy. I guess I don't know. But no, that one scene where they go to meet the head vampire guy, and he's with Speed, and they're driving. What do you call that? What do you call riding? Carriaging. They're carriaging down to his house, and you can just very, very, very much tell that they filmed that scene during the day, and they just have like a blue filter over it. Because you can see that the background is very shiny, and you can see the sun shining. It's just they have a blue filter over it to make you think, or try to make you think that they're filming this at night, when they're very much clearly not. And they do that a lot, where they're filming something very visually, very much looks like they're filming it during the day.
Yeah.
And they just have like a filter.
It looks very like movie set. Like you expect the cameras to like, okay, and cut, and then like it zooms out, and then like you're gonna see the people, like the actors, just like
everything
acting
looks
normal.
very fake.
Yeah.
But I saw criticism of this, and this is actually something I will commend the movie for. I saw a lot when I was looking into it that the main criticism was like the CGI was really bad.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I feel like, especially for something that came out in 2013, like it's not that bad actually. I actually didn't, and it's maybe just because I've seen, horrific, eye traumatizing things like Cats or The Flash.
Oh yeah.
So like in comparison,
not quite that bad, but it's still
not
not good.
I thought you were saying like you've seen Cats. Like I was like.
Oh no, I haven't seen the movie, but like I mean, anyone with like eyes can like see that's like
okay, here's
horrifying things beyond our comprehension. Beyond our comprehension, wouldn't look as bad as that fucking.
Here's the
movie
thing:
does.
The Flash and Cats, it's like visual effects all the time. It never stops. This movie, I would say it's about on par. Maybe it's slightly better, but it is more sparing in its use of CGI. But it's still very, very obvious.
I
and
guess
cheesy.
Maybe that's why.
And that does add to my entertainment.
And I mean,
but it's
dude,
it's
again, that's
not,
2013. Like when those movies come out, like 2021, 2019.
I don't know. Prometheus came out the same year.
Yeah. Really? Yeah. Okay. I get that. Yeah.
I know not everything's gonna be like there are plenty of movies I love where it's like and I know we just got off of Furiosa saying like the visual effects aren't as good, but it's like when you do see good stuff, it's hard when it's in the same franchise and it like falls off.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is like I like those Marvel movies well enough, and they're not necessarily like Blade Runner every single time. I think you can have serviceable like CG.
Yeah.
This was like that sweet spot of like, okay, we got off topic earlier.
This is obviously CG, but it's not as like I don't want to pluck my eyes out with my fingers once I like watch it.
It's tone that really like that helps differentiate. Okay, if this were in like a World War II movie that was like based on Civil War movie that was based on a true story, it would be really distracting and I wouldn't be able to like connect to it as much. Whereas like with this, the concept is so cartoony that when stuff like that does come up, it's definitely not a stylistic choice of like it is overstepping its overplaying its hand in terms of like this stampede scene with all the horses, that's gonna be like amazing. It's gonna be a highlight of the movie. It's just like I'm thinking of like Crystal Skull, like when he's swinging through the jungle with the monkeys. It's like that's what that reminds me of. It's a bunch of CG gobbledygook. But it's just ridiculous enough to where it's like they like get off like and get back onto several horses so many times.
I mean, doesn't he literally like go under and then flip a horse and throws it at him? Doesn't he? He does that, right? I'm pretty sure he does.
It's
he
like
throws
part,
like a horse at him.
It's like that part from Lord of the Rings where Legolas like does that impossible, like he grabs the neck of the horse and goes on top of it from the front while it's running forward. It's like that times 100.
Yeah.
For that
they just do that like
scene.
50 times. They like jumping from horse to horse, and he's like going through horses and like literally throwing horses at him. Yeah. Like I thought that was fucking awesome though. but what? Because he was like I don't know. I guess because I don't know. I could give it a break because like CGI is serviceably bad, but like I don't know. I just had a lot of fun with that scene, and I thought that shit was funny.
It was definitely funny.
Like I don't know, fun. Yeah. But I could see. Yeah, it just doesn't really look very good.
I just looked it up, by the way. Joshua Speed is a real person.
Is he?
Yeah, so that's...
Yeah, but
that's
I'm sure
that's
you
fascinating.
refer to him as Speed.
I don't know. You don't know.
It's
like-
very jarring. Like it's because this movie
They
feels
were,
like
very formal back
it
then.
feels like a superhero movie. Like when he
Yeah,
when he
yeah,
finally
yeah.
like dons the beard and the hat and the suit.
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like
no, yeah.
he walks like it's an Avengers reveal where it's like he finally has the
Oh
suit.
yeah, he's got
man.
the beard and the hat.
Like,
No, 'cause they
everything's
even
come
do that because
together.
like at the beginning, near the beginning when he goes to that dance with when he first meets Mary Elizabeth Winston.
Yeah.
He has the hat on, and the guy's like, "Take it, get rid of that hat. You know, it doesn't look very good.
Yeah.
You know, it's supposed to be like, oh, you wear the hat."
I did find that there was like this one. I'm pretty sure.
Okay. I wrote this down too. Speaking of hats, that scene where he takes her home and then like she like stands on his hat to be level. How did she do that?
It was made of like lead or something.
Okay, I was about to say, like, were hats just made differently back? Were hats made out of wood back then or something?
It's really
Am I just
weird.
fucking stupid? Am I do not know about how they used to make hats? How did the fuck did she stand on that hat?
If you were wearing that when he was in the theater, he might not have. He might
Yeah,
have
it
died
would
from
have
that
blocked
bullet.
him. Yeah, it would have blocked the bullet.
Would have
for
deflected
him.
that bullet.
Yeah, so I guess she could stand on hats. I guess his hat right then was made of steel.
But yeah, that scene where he has the picnic basket and it's like, oh yeah, and then we went out for a while and I know I was supposed to like have no relationships in this life as a vampire hunter.
Yeah.
You know, it's like they kind of skim over that, which I think is fine.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
that
they
could
do.
definitely
He does
be
kind of get rid of that after a while, but they
But-
don't really say anything. He's
But
just
something
like,
that was like really stuck out as like weird was when he was like playing with that picnic basket, like "Rawr, rawr, rawr," and I was just like, whoa, where did you've been like a completely like flatline character this entire time.
And now he's like a jokey.
Yeah, it's like
upbeat
you've had
kinda
like
guy.
no personality whatsoever.
Oh, he's in love. No, you know.
It's just like
He loves her.
It goes from like from 1 to like 8 in terms of like
Yeah.
you know, I wouldn't quite say charisma.
You know what
but-
I actually thought was really cool?
What?
There's this one trap near the beginning in his it's like his first kill, I think, where he goes to kill that doctor guy, and it's kind of stupid because it's like, oh, how would he know he'd be fucking standing there? Why does he have that?
It was a pretty like confined room.
Because
where he pushed
yeah,
him into it.
he pushed them and then he pushed that lever and he like drops. And I actually thought that was kind of cool. He drops and then he's like hanging upside down. I actually thought that was really well filmed and looked pretty cool.
And he had this
And, those guys in there and he's like draining blood. He's like, they're not dead, but he's like draining. What, I don't know. Are they dead?
They're dead by then.
I guess so. Yeah. Well, he's draining blood from them slowly, and I thought that was cool and kind of smart. Like, oh yeah, that's like a guy would do that.
It's like a
And-
cute visual gag with his little scarf, and as he's upside down, it goes across
That's
his
his neck,
skin,
yeah.
or his chin. So it's like, yeah, it's,
He's got the beard.
yeah.
And they really do, like, I guess, because that's what, I mean, well, they're trying to imply it, I guess, because he really gets into that vampire shit real, like, easily. But I guess he literally saw one, so I guess if you see something like that, you'd be able to believe, you know, whatever, because he's just like, yep, vampires are real. It's like, oh, vampires are real? Here, let me help you kill them. But I guess when you get beat up by one, fucking...
Yeah, fuck him. That's genocide.
Also, like how, like, I guess he couldn't. I feel like that, because there's that rule that they established later that's kind of inconsistent, where you can't,
Yeah.
vampires can't hurt vampires, but
oh,
he does that multiple times in the movie.
Yeah, they try to say like, oh, that's the you can't kill a vampire, but I guess you can. As long as you're not intending to kill a vampire, you can beat it up to help your friend who's going to kill the vampire.
Yeah, right? Or like how he grabs that one in the beginning, the guy who killed his mom, he like fucking throws him in the fucking building and throws him like 50 feet in the fucking air.
Uh-huh.
Like,
Oh,
dude,
that
if
shot was great when he was like up against
and he goes
the
to
wood.
the wall. Yeah,
That was
it's
like
kinda-
some like DreamWorks like action scene like. You don't see that in live action very often, where
Yeah.
it's like just a regular Abraham Lincoln. He's just a regular human being, and he's just like barreling through all this like Madame Dubois.
and he can just fucking. I guess everything was made out of wood back then, so there's no like
everything was made out of
concrete
Lincoln
or-
logs.
Yeah, so I guess he'd be fine, just wood, I suppose. I don't know.
See, honestly, I kind of forget just because it's been a long time since I've just watched like a cheeky fucking dumb comedy. But I
don't think it was going to. I don't think it was trying to be a comedy, but
It was like
no, but
30%,
yeah.
25% a comedy.
yes,
No.
yeah, there's a, yeah.
no, but what I like about this stuff is that, like, even if it takes itself seriously, kind of,
Mhm.
I feel like there's literally like two teams. Like they're like, okay, you guys like do like the effects and make stuff look cool, and you guys just like make kind of the shots happen and or like stuff happen. Make it make sense.
Yeah.
And then there's like, does it really need to make sense? It's like it's a Lincoln vampire. Like how much sense do we gotta make? Like if like Adam Sandler in Don't Mess with the Zohan can like literally just come flying at somebody and then like take apart their gun like in 2 seconds, like you could argue like, oh, he's a super trained military soldier, right?
Yeah.
Like, but like it doesn't have to look good or make any sense.
Yeah, no,
And
like
people
like
will
how,
still like
I
it.
guess it's like fucking Dragon Ball. Like you can just train yourself to have human strength. Because there's that one scene in the beginning where he's just like, chop this tree down. What do you don't like? He's just like, I don't like vampires. He's like, I don't like that my mother died. It's like that she died. Or you couldn't protect her. He was like, "Grr!" And he like chops that tree in half and then just goes fucking flying up in the fucking air like he's fucking the Hulk.
Like by taking it seriously, I genuinely think whoever directed that scene, once it was finished and they watched it, they probably laughed their ass off.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
and they were like, well, we're not going to change it to make it look serious. Like, this is funny. Because people will talk about it.
Yeah, yeah.
And then, like, go see this movie and make fun of it with their friends.
Mhm.
And I saw that this movie was super fucking successful because it literally doubled their
Oh
like,
yeah,
their
yeah,
budget.
no, yeah, right.
So, like,
it's kind of crazy.
And honestly, I don't go, oh, people are so stupid for going to see this. Dude, I'd rather watch this again and be entertained by it and watch, like, any like Illumination generic like animation that's coming out.
Well, I mean, like as far as action movies go, I feel like it's at no point, like at not a single moment at any attempt is it successfully cool. I think it's lame the entire time, but
That's what makes it funny.
I respect its more specifically. I respect its earnestness because like the action movies nowadays they always have to have like some sort of comedic slant to where it's like and I'm not saying like action comedy just like good action comedy just doesn't exist or like there hasn't been a good action comedy within the past like 10 years even. I'm not trying to say that, but like as far as like the era that this came from, I feel like this was like kind of the last of like we're gonna actually try to make this
stupid thing like kind of actually work.
we're gonna at least like we're gonna like film these like action scenes and like make them as big spectacles as much as we can in proportion to what this story is.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay
But
if
we're
it-
also gonna like the characters are going to take this seriously enough. And that's what makes the comedy work so
Well,
much better than like I guess I'm fighting vampires now. Like it doesn't have that kind of
man, yeah, like
doesn't have that kind of,
cheesiness
like-
to
No, because
it,
they're
kind of.
you're taking like the art making of it seriously, but not the is it sensical or
Yes,
like
yes,
like,
that's
like
exactly-
no one cares if it makes
the
sense.
logic,
Yeah.
of
Like,
it, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And like
I mean, it's fair. Abraham Lincoln fighting vampires. I mean, doesn't really have to need a whole lot of logic. He just needs to kind of get shit done.
like
So that was
you
funny.
know, there's like a million Mission Impossible movies, and they all blend together. Like you couldn't pick out a scene from Mission Impossible besides the first one. If I picked a scene from Mission Impossible 6 and was like, and I showed it to you, you wouldn't be like, oh, that's from Mission Impossible 6. You'd just be like, oh, it's probably Mission Impossible.
I've
I
kind
don't
of seen them
remember
enough
which
times to I see where
a
you're
Mission
coming from.
Impossible fan.
Like
Or maybe like Fast and Furious.
I just happen to be a Mission Impossible fan, but I see where you're coming from. Where it's like especially as they go on, they've had the same guy for the past like 3, whereas the first like 5 were completely different directors, and they were completely different styles and tones every single time.
That's a separate conversation.
Yeah,
but I
but
actually
the past-
I do
the past-
like Mission Impossible actually.
Yeah, but the past few they have been done by the same guy, and those are way more prone to be like, okay, this is just like alphabet soup of like information, honestly,
Yeah.
because it is coming from the same guy, and it's like he's competent, but I would much prefer something like kind of bad if it has like a strong personality like that second one, but over like okay. Again, like you're not really doing anything like crazy different. And it's not like the stories have to be crazy. It's just like stylistically, I want them to shake it up every single time. We haven't gotten that in a long time.
Yeah, like, I just we're pretending Mission Impossible is not made by like a huge company with tons of money, and like maybe it's like the early 2000s and they don't have like the crazy effects budget, or like I don't know, like Beekeeper or something. Like, imagine how more memorable the movie would be if like just for one scene, like everything looks good, but for some reason there's just this one scene where Tom Cruise like jumps 20 feet in the air, like over a plane or something. Like, literally everybody would, like, remember that and think it's iconic, even though it's fucking stupid. It doesn't make any sense. And it's just because, like, this shit has charm, even if it doesn't necessarily look the best. Because it's just, like, it doesn't really have to make sense. It's just entertaining. Like,
yeah, no, I generally like most of the
Abraham,
fight scenes in the movie, like where he's fighting all the vampires, or even when they go to the big fucking vampire. Even though that was fucking stupid, like how did he ride a carriage through a wall? Is that I would think the horse would just like fucking run into it. Yeah, I don't think you can do that. I don't think that's how that shit works.
Like, you know,
yeah, now even that whole scene where he's fighting them, I think I got very entertained and. By all the fight scenes and him doing all the stupid shit with the fucking axe, like what fucking.
Especially like when the bad guy's like, "You were very impressive. You wasted my best men. I'm glad
like
you've proven your worth."
Yes, yeah. And then he has him right there. He just doesn't kill him because
he's like 5, 4, 3,
3.5.
Yeah, it's just like that kind of bullshit. It's just like, oh my god, this sucks, but it's cute.
Yeah. It's I don't know. It's just, to me, it very much seems like it's not taking itself too seriously at all, and just like, yeah, this is what Abraham catching fucking fighting vampires.
You get what the title advertises, and it doesn't disappoint necessarily.
I even like that scene because he fights that one girl and she traps him under the chair, and I thought that was kind of cool.
So like,
yeah, you got some good kicks out of that one.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Hell yeah. I'll compare it to two things, and this is why this movie can stand as a decent movie. So like, because I was thinking, what's the last vampire movie I watched? And I remembered
Morbius.
No, it was worse actually. Somehow.
Oh.
Well, I don't know. 'Cause I never watched Morbius, but I don't watch Morbius. But, so what I hate is when people make these movies and like they have silly, campy shit that just doesn't really look good, but then it just takes itself so seriously that and it's not taking itself seriously because like, oh, there's they're trying to make a good movie. No, they're taking themselves seriously so they can stall with like dialogue and stuff and just make a complete movie. So a studio will be like, oh, it's an hour and a half, it's a full movie. And that way they don't have to actually try to do anything. Like, they tried their ass off in this Abraham Lincoln movie, even though like it just looks so stupid. Like,
I will say,
I like how. I was just thinking about this footage, and I don't know. I just like how I mean, near the end of the movie, he's just like, nah. These vampires, they're not the problem. The Union is. The South, that's the real problem. Like, he just completely gives up on hunting vampires so he can fight the South.
Yeah, that's how it ties into our reality.
I guess
that's how he
yeah.
becomes president.
I guess you got to explain why he was like doing all the war stuff and not hunting vampires anymore.
Yeah,
he's getting up in his age.
I mean, I guess so, yeah.
I was just going to say that I saw this awfully horribly shitty movie called The Last Voyage of the Demeter, and it's even like a good concept too. It's just the ship that brought Dracula over from it's like Transylvania to somewhere, but it ends in like disaster and he kills everybody on the ship. Like, literally, there's only like one survivor, and it's supposed to be like a pirate's tale, basically.
Shit,
like,
when was this? You should have called Abraham Lincoln.
Nah, dude, this was like, I don't even think he's alive, dude. But anyway, this movie sucks because they literally just don't try to do anything effect-wise. Like, there's, I think, 3 different times where he just pulls somebody into the dark and you just see kind of like CG blood on the ground.
So boring.
And you know what's funny? You know who's in this movie?
Who?
We'll know because we're Walking Dead fans, but it's the guy who plays Heath in The Walking Dead.
Damn, really?
Yeah, he apparently sold his soul to just go make movies, and he just did a bunch of bad, shitty movies like back to back, and basically
Damn.
just like lost all the potential he could have done with The Walking Dead.
Damn, that sucks.
But yeah, I think it's funny because he's like the main character in the movie, and like for some reason he has like a British accent.
From
but
Britain?
Then he's like says he's from Africa. I don't know. It's weird. And he has a doctorate.
Well, I mean,
somehow.
you know, if you didn't know, for a long time, Africa was occupied by the British.
I don't know. Anyway, but this movie is like just bad. But then there's another movie that I've seen, and it's fucking ridiculous and stupid. But I literally forgot about it until I watched this movie because it reminded me of it. I watched it's like probably a 2000s movie, honestly, too. It was Hansel and Gretel.
Jeremy Renner.
Yeah, with Jeremy Renner, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I totally forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they literally have like guns.
Yeah,
like,
because they like hunt witches or some shit.
Yeah, it's literally called Hansel and Gretel, like witch hunters.
You know, it's funny that movie seems a lot similar to this movie.
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is like, but I actually liked both of those movies, not because they're good at all, but like the action sequences and the crazy guns they use are nuts. Like literally in Hansel and Gretel, he has like a 6 wide like barrel shotgun, and this doesn't even make sense, but he has one trigger and like not all barrels fire at the same time. So he just like it's like he's fanning the hammer, but it's with a shotgun, so it looks really cool, but it doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah, no, it's just like in this one where it's like, how did Abraham Lincoln get a gun inside his axe? Like, how does that fucking work?
He's special ordered, I
guess. Yeah,
that was beautiful. That was what sold the whole movie.
Yeah,
Like
like
him holding it at that angle, just like
like it's fucking John Marston or something.
Mm-hmm. And then at the end, he has like he like turns it into a musket, and there's like a knife on the end.
Yeah, how did
and
the
an
fuck?
axe on the other end? And it's just like he's not even like using this as a gun anymore. It's like it's still a blade. It's like just
and
redundant,
that goes
and it's so
against-
stupid looking, but it's so funny. It's so like specifically like stupidly funny.
And also, it's just like it also goes against what he said earlier, because he said he didn't like using like guns or anything. He just wanted to use the axe for some reason.
Because he was like,
Because,
well, they're like showing off all these guns, and
axes.
it's like, oh yeah, the 6-barreled musket will like guarantee that you get your shot in one shot, because we can only do one shot in the 1800s, 1700s. I can't.
Because you got to reload, and that shit takes a while.
And then he's like, well, I've always been good with an axe.
Yeah.
He's like fucking flipping it around. Oh, it's great.
No, I just like that because it's fucking dumb, but it's like also kind of cool because he like does all these fucking tricks with it and shit. And he literally like that one scene. I don't remember. I think it was in the big fight scene where he throws the axe and it fucking cuts that guy's fucking head in half. That was actually kind of badass. Like I was like, oh shit. Okay.
I mean, what's
Abraham Lincoln got the moves out here. Man.
I mean, just think about how bad this movie would be if like he just uses like a stake or something, and then like.
Well, no, it's because like
he
axes.
doesn't do anything like clever or anything.
No,
like,
it's because axes are more associated with Abraham Lincoln.
No, I'm
So
saying
they
like
can,
I'm
like,
glad they did all of these like I'm not gonna say choreographed, but like they did these like good fight scenes that like most movies like can't do fight scenes now. Like even like big budget movies with like huge fucking actors.
Yeah, I really don't get
the most
like
boring fucking
because
fights.
it's like
See,
the
thing
this
is-
The
thing
just,
is,
like,
the-
slinging this
the
fucking
action-
blade. That's literally what reminded me.
Oh yeah.
That's also a vampire movie. I guess vampire movies just have cool fights.
See, the thing for me is that I don't think the action is good because it's good. It's good because
It's ridiculous and over the top.
Yeah, the concepts are high
Yeah.
enough to where it's like, okay, this, again, like it feels like a fake movie,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
in a good way where it's like this is like exactly what I would want from,
Out of an Abraham
yeah.
Lincoln vampire hunter movie. Yeah,
Uh-huh. and like even better than that, even though the editing is like terrible for like a lot of sequences in this movie, where it's just like, oh my god, there's so many cuts in here for like no reason, and I can tell like lines being put in, like especially with that guy, his like trainer. It's just like a lot of like patchwork. It looks like where it's like this. Yeah, it's annoying. This isn't like I wouldn't say this is like a well-made movie, but there is an attempt add a personality, which I liked.
Yeah.
There were some transitions, like when he's like showing the railroad, and then it goes from his hand and turns into the train.
Yeah, the train.
I thought that was like it was cool that it attempted more than what it really needed to. It tried. You can definitely tell it was like trying, even though nothing was like really like nothing like awestruck me. It was just like, oh, this is like consistently like trying to, you know, it's not just like straightforward like lockdown action like filmmaking or like quick cutting to the extent where it's like
trying to be
And
entertaining.
it doesn't feel like it had
ruins the action.
It didn't feel like it had a fucking formula to make this movie. They just tried to make it and try to make it as entertaining as possible.
I think it's definitely formulaic. It's just also as entertaining as
or I guess more bland.
possible.
That's I guess was more I was looking
that's
the
much
word I was
better.
looking for.
Yeah.
Like it's not as bland as a lot of other movies come across.
You can tell that they tried a lot harder to just be entertaining than actually like critically acclaimed. Like it's just like
or like it thinks it's bigger than it is.
Yeah.
Like you know.
Yeah, but I'm sure the people
I was expecting
behind
something
it
like
know
this,
it's not.
but I'm glad they didn't do it. I'm glad they didn't do something like at the end when he goes off to the theater, like they reveal John Wilkes Booth with a vampire.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Or like they cut to the future and it was gonna be fucking Obama.
That's what I thought.
Like, hey, Obama.
The movie. It ends with like the trainer vampire
finding another guy.
He's like, and he says the same thing he said to Abraham Lincoln at a bar. He's like, the only reason people get this drunk is to kiss a girl or kill someone. And then it shows like some guy with a gun, and you don't know who it is. It's just like, well, I guess the legacy goes on. He can
maybe be the president.
He can emotionally manipulate this guy into working for him, like who may or may not have like suffered from a vampire. Really, like he doesn't actually know that.
Yeah,
he's just like. And then he talked to some other guy who will probably kill for him. I really wished it were Obama.
I think it would have been a lot funnier if it was like Obama or something. Well, I mean, they only show like the back of his head, so I mean, you just got to get somebody.
It's just like some guy though, and it's like kind of lame. Like why did you even bother going to the future?
Just to be like,
okay,
see more vampire hunters in the future, man. But yeah. Funny, awesome, great, amazing movie. I legit haven't had this much fun watching a movie in a while, a long while, and I don't know. I'm glad I watched it. Like I said, the only thing that comes to it is fun, and it's hard to critique and take seriously a movie that's literally called Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
I mean, objectively, it's like 4.5. But like subjective, just out of my own enjoyment.
I think the guy they got to play Abraham Lincoln actually kind of really looked like him, honestly. And
I thought
he looked pretty good.
Not nearly as like tall and stocky.
His makeup was better than everyone else's. Probably because like the beard helps with like just.
Oh man, he was fucking.
But everyone just looks like they're in a costume. The aged makeup especially was like really.
Like that's Mary Elizabeth fucking Winston. I know.
It's just like kind of gray. She doesn't look wrinkled. It's just like pure like it looks like
just
paint.
gray. Yeah,
just like.
I think I
guess that's more like a later, more when they get into like when they're supposed to be like old, like really old.
Out of my own personal enjoyment, I think I give this movie like a 6.5. But objectively, this movie's not good. Like,
no.
Like, kind of, it's basically just my vampire version of Don't Mess with the Zohan. Don't Mess with the Zohan's a shitty movie, but I like that movie. Like, that movie is stupid, and it has like maybe 4 good jokes. We should watch that.
I like the Harriet Tubman cameo.
Yeah.
In it. She's in the movie. I guess. I mean, she was around during that.
Yeah, it was like the
Albert Einstein one. From
Oppenheimer.
Yeah. But not as like I don't know. I'd say they're about the same. I don't know. It's just like.
Oppenheimer is like supposed to be.
Just kind of there. Yeah.
They did like an Avengers moment.
It's more than one railroad. I like that part. I also like the part where he's like giving up the vampire life, and the guy's like, "No, you can't. Like, they'll find you. You know." The fucking he's like, "Oh, they don't know who I am." And literally, the very next scene is literally Abraham Lincoln, because like the guy like stole his watch somehow. I can't remember how. one of the vampires he killed like took his. It was like the main vampire guy who killed his mom like took his watch.
We found that on his corpse.
Yeah, I guess so somehow, and he was just like, Abraham Lincoln.
Oh man, that part was great.
Man, why did they sneak into his house and kill his son? Why didn't they just kill him?
I don't know. So you can't have a relationship if you're a vampire hunter. They're always gonna kill your family.
Yeah, I guess
instead
so.
of you because fuck it.
Yeah, that's actually like a vampire hunting theme. If you're gonna really go that deep into it, all vampire hunters usually have like some tragic tale, and usually like their whole family's dead.
Well, I mean, they killed his mom. I mean, what more motivation you need than that, you know?
Ah, you got killed.
And I don't know, can they just not kill people? Because they don't kill either of those fuckers, like his mom or his son. They just, like, infect them with the vampire disease and kill them? Why didn't you just fucking kill her?
Oh yeah, they say something weird. It's like your wife has a more pure soul than you, and I'm just like, really? That's why they died? Is that how they feed on like?
Because they tried to turn them into a but they were too good.
Is that how they feed on everyone? It's just like you want to find like the bad or you want to find the good souls specifically because they
taste more
better.
or they'll
like
die and they won't turn into a vampire. Or maybe it doesn't matter after they just like suck the blood. It's just like whatever happens.
Yeah, the whole rules for the vampires are not explained or held up very well at all.
As a big fan of vampires, most fictional vampires do not make any sense.
Well, I mean, because they do that, and you can't have a vampire ruled like this. So that means, like if you're on like a cliff, right? You couldn't like push another vampire off the cliff, or that technically doesn't kill them. The fall kills them, or landing kills them.
Yeah.
So technically, you could kill another vampire.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Also, how did
he winds up helping him in the end? It's but he didn't intend on killing him. He just thought really really hard about not killing him. Just so that he could like live.
Also, like at the end, this is very blatant. I think at the end they fucking gave up. They're just like, all right, because like 50 vampires jump on the train, but like only like actually 2 get in it. Like, do they all just fall off or? Because that's at the beginning. Because you see all these fucking vampires getting on, but like. They fight like 6 of them.
I mean, they
guess they
didn't have it in the budget, I guess.
Yeah, I guess not. And then, like, at the end, like, the main vampire lady, she lights the bridge on fire. And then you don't see her for the rest of the movie until the end when she comes out and she's all hurt. And then, like, she dies.
Which is, yeah.
But, like, how did
she get hurt?
I don't know.
I thought she just walked away.
No, yeah, that's what I thought. I thought she just walked away, I guess.
That caught on fire way quicker than she thought.
Yeah, like, the whole thing, like...
Just would have been funny to see.
It took a while to, like, catch on fire.
Her immediately, like, get, like,
but, like, she
by...
left, and did she just stand there? And, like, oh, man, that's a big fire. Or, like, yeah, like, that didn't make any... Like, she just came out hurt somehow. I don't know. And then she had like the little boy's toy and like irony kills him.
Oh yeah, the irony. He's like, "Where's the silver?" And he's like, "Right here, bitch." And
yeah.
He wraps the watch around his fist and punches, and the silver like breaks. It would have been great if instead of that guy, we were like Will Forte from Clone High. I think he would have made a good Abraham Lincoln.
Man, that's totally unrelated, but I'm so disappointed that Clone High sequel just like ate shit.
That's random. Okay, all right.
Clone High's good.
I haven't seen it, so I don't know.
You gotta watch Clone High.
I guess so.
They got rid of Gandhi, the best character, because they didn't like the way he was portrayed in a parody. I can't believe parody was so wrong.
Speaking of social justice, I thought the whole thing about the vampires, they're like, we won't live in the shadows anymore. We'll be on top, and it's like. I feel like there's like, again, not a necessity, but like there's something there that if you were trying to like actually make a good movie, you can mine from, where it's like, okay, vampires, like, especially if they're like daywalkers, I feel like there is an option for society to like coincide with vampires.
Yeah.
And they
like,
never...
They can integrate themselves and like get into... That's the other thing, like, they're all like fucking like shopkeepers or just some goobers.
Yeah, but the thing is that
they're never like important people for some reason.
They team up with the South because apparently they get most of their feed off of like slaves. Which is but it's just
kind
like
of funny.
I guess it's just kind of
vampires.
I guess it's like a running thing with like most vampire media, where it's like, well, I mean, why don't they just like, I don't know, suck animal blood? And I don't know, but I mean, like, I feel like a lot of your problems would be solved if you just like didn't eat humans. And if you were trying to do this, like, oh, we're just trying to like, we're the ones that want to like, you know, not have to hide in society. It's just like I feel like there's
well,
an
yeah,
option.
I think
just,
it was more. Wasn't
just
it more
eat
like a
animal-
master race thing? And like, oh, we're better than the humans.
Yeah,
so
that-
we gotta take
Oh,
over.
yeah.
That's
One
why
at a
it
time.
coincided with like the slavery, because they feed off of the slaves,
Slave
because no one
day.
cares if they like
Yeah.
disappear and stuff. But I'm just saying, like, just do what humans do. Like, no one cares about animals.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm just like, I would like
You
to
gotta
know
assume-
if there was a reason for that. There's an option here. You're just kind of being an asshole by like, killing people.
Because Judas got 13 silver when he betrayed Jesus. That's
I mean,
why.
It's probably like a power
And now
trip,
it's
ego thing.
cursed for the
Now you gotta,
cursed.
yeah, cursed forever for somehow. I guess Judas was also a vampire.
Yeah.
I don't know. Abraham Lincoln, the secrets you never knew.
I feel like a wooden axe would have worked
That
just as
video.
well, and it
It's
would
gotta
have
be
made
silver.
it would've made
Nothing else
sen-
can kill them.
But I
apparently.
mean, it would have made sense because it's a stake to the heart. So if he was skilled with an axe, that would have worked perfectly fine.
Yeah. Well, they didn't say that could kill vampires. They said only silver.
I know. It's just like, as far as like following vampire rules, it's like
Yeah.
you're just kind of like doing this for no reason.
Yeah.
Which
It's
is
weird.
It's so he can
because
have an axe.
Why-
'cause, you know,
But he can
Abraham
have a
Lincoln-
wooden axe. That's what I'm saying.
I genuinely think they just wanted silver because silver looked cooler, and because
Yeah.
like when is
Chopping some guy with the head of an axe looks cooler than stabbing someone with a piece of wood. I
But
guess.
when does
He can't. No, like we didn't have. He couldn't do all the cool axe tricks and stuff. You
But
know?
like yes, they. I always think that's dumb.
Yeah, I mean, he
Anyways.
sliced that guy from like ass to head that one time. That was fucking.
I mean, when do you normally kill vampires with like silver and any other piece of media?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I think they just wanted an axe because they were like, that looks cool.
I do get a little kick out of like, what was the there was this, oh yeah, American Psycho. I love a visual of like a perfect like silver,
Yeah,
you know, on
silver
like
axe,
on, like,
yeah.
on a
It's,
weapon,
like,
like any
completely
like
clean.
yeah,
Like,
any
it's
like
never been
blade,
used.
Yeah.
any bladed weapon. An axe is like really striking with that. So it's fine. It's just like why, especially if you like wrote a book, you know. Maybe that was changed from the book.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, we gotta read the book now.
Yeah.
You know, you can't say you're a fan of the anime if you haven't read the manga.
Yeah.
I can and will.
All these problems would be fixed if we just read the
Yeah,
book,
the manga.
obviously.
Alright, you want to give a quick rating for this epic movie?
0. No, I already gave mine. Like 4.5 objectively, but it is entertaining. So, like, my personal score is a
Yeah.
6.5. But
Um,
don't go into this movie thinking it's a 6.5.
Yeah.
It's not.
yeah, taking in consideration my personal enjoyment, because I always like to just give a unbiased kind of plain score on, at least when we're talking on here, I'd probably give it the same, like a 5.5, yeah. Even though I just said earlier I don't like giving half scores, but if anything, it's more toward a 6. Actually, you know what, that's probably what I'll set it. I'll set it on like a 6. I don't know, I really fucking enjoyed this fucking movie. Like, I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm just so used to reviewing shit and like keeping shit serious. Like, I watched this, I was just like, dude, this is just fun. Like, I
think it is
thoroughly
biased.
enjoyed. I would genuinely watch this movie again. Like, I would have no problem bringing it over to someone's house or showing it to people or
It's
or
not good.
sitting down and I mean, yeah, it's not good, but like, I don't know, I just get so much I just get a fucking kick out of this shit. Unlike something like as bland and mindless as like, I don't know, like Hobbs and Shaw or something,
Yeah.
which is probably just as well made, but I just don't get as much entertainment out of it.
Yeah,
I really
try hard
don't.
humor. like,
Yeah.
boring.
I'll give it a fucking 6 out of 10. I don't give a shit. I like this movie. I genuinely do like this
You
fucking
know
movie.
what I can't get over though, before you give your rating, real quick?
But
For some reason, Adrian just does not like he'll like this, but then he won't like half of like Adam Sandler's movies, or like
You say that like that's a bad thing. You say
again,
that
it's
from
like,
like a
that's
general
like try hard
consensus.
Or-
humor, like, you know.
or-
A serious thing failing at being serious is funnier than an unfunny
I don't know,
thing.
just because I don't like the movies
funny.
you think are funny.
Talladega Nights is a good movie, and Adrian thinks it isn't.
No,
It's a
fucking, that
funny
movie's
movie.
fucking stupid.
Oh yeah, it's really
It's got
funny,
like
though.
4 good jokes.
Anyways, I would say it very quickly established its camp in a way that was like, all right, I'm on board with this, and was consistently surprising enough, just in terms of like what they were showing, not necessarily where the story was going. Story's very like standard, straightforward, but in terms of like action and conceptually where the story was going, it was like well paced enough. At least in the first half, I feel like as soon as he does turn into like Abraham Lincoln proper, it does, take a lull in the story to like really like get into the silliness again. It would be great if the movie were good and and that part had a bit more like kind of meat to it in terms of like he finds out that like he can't just like kill vampires. He has to make like a bigger difference to like actually save people.
It wasn't. It was more just, well, I gotta do this first.
But
it can go on the back
considering
burner.
the type of movie it is, it does fall flat on its face and it does get boring for a bit. But the climax does pick it up enough to where it's like, all right, you won me over. It doesn't leave a bad taste in my mouth. I would say other than like the lull in the story that keeps me from like immediately wanting to rewatch it or like consider it like a personal like so bad it's good classic, though it does rank highly in like those like fake sounding movies that like live up to their name. I would say the only other thing is that like lead is a complete charisma vacuum. I do not care about him one bit. He is not really funny through any like or like entertaining through any like merits of his own. None of the characters other than just like isolated moments have these really good parts to like really make it like memorable. And so with all that in mind, just like Aquaman, I would give this a 4 out of 10, but I really, really liked it.
Okay.
And yeah, it's definitely something that you don't get too often, and I'm very glad that it lived up to that name, because I was very much anticipating to be disappointed, but it was able to do some very goofy, very entertaining stuff for most of it. It's a very good like it feels like a date movie, like oh, you want to see that movie where Abraham Lincoln kills the vampires? It's just like it's just some bullshit to go watch with your girlfriend or your friends, where it's just it feels like a very good like social movie, It feels great to like watch with people.
It also just nothing felt ham-fisted, I don't know. It's just
it was the earnestness,
very entertaining.
The sincerity goes a long way. Yeah, and it's not like
it,
genius.
It knows what it is,
but it does know what it is.
Yeah, and it does it, as well as you can do something like this.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I think he needed like a theme, like a some kind of like like Avengers like James Bond kind of theme, like Abraham Lincoln hunts vampires.
You know what does get me?
I don't know.
I don't know why, but like simple cartoons or like okay movies with like super good soundtracks, like just it kind of makes me like laugh. I just think it's funny. Like
a good Petey Wheatstraw. I love like just like exploitation movies like that in like the 70s and 80s, where it's like I can imagine this working like just as well back then if it had like the same like kind of production value, where it's like they earnestly tried to make like an Abraham Lincoln vampire hunting movie. I feel like it fits perfectly with like that kind of entertainment of like just like totally campy, and then you have like Abe Lincoln
hunt vampires.
Vampire.
Abraham Lincoln. That's all they gotta say. They gotta say like Abraham Lincoln, vampire hunt. Something like that. I feel like
you gotta get Jack Black, but only for the song. He's not in the movie.
yeah, just for that one song.
You say that, or I say that, but they literally did that for like Croods 2.
Oh really?
Yeah, he does a song like right in the middle of the movie. He's not in the movie.
He just does a song for them.
I thought he was in a Kung Fu Panda 4. He probably was.
No, he just does a song for Croods 2.
I can't remember.
It's
I thought
really
I saw
weird.
it.
That's odd.
And it's like official, like on his Tenacious D. Like you go on Spotify, like it's one of the songs that Tenacious D specifically made.
That's kind of that. Wow, what a fucking odd people to go. Hey,
you know what's funny?
Want to make a song for this children's sequel?
It's good. It's a good song.
Oh my God.
No, yeah, it is. It's a good song because it could have existed as a song without the movie. They just use the song and like say some generic shit, but it's Jack Black singing it, so it sounds good.
All right, I think it is
Chicken Little time.
No. Please, God, no.
I can't wait for Chicken Little 2, man.
It's Daniel's turn to recommend something, and we will be watching it next time. So, Daniel, what do you have for us today?
All right. So yeah, I've done movies so far. Adrian did an album, and I think we haven't done a TV show yet, right?
No, we're not.
All right. So this is a short-lived British sitcom, and it stars Ricky Gervais. It's called Extras.
That one.
Not the one we were thinking of.
No, that one's probably not short.
This is 2 seasons long, and considering how often we put out these episodes, I think it's fairly manageable. Considering, yeah, it's like they're super short seasons, and yeah, it's just 2. It's this really. I watched it in its entirety recently, and I already want to rewatch it, and I think it would be a pretty good introduction in terms of discussing television for the recommendation. Something we're all on the same page on in terms of things we've seen on like Fallout and everything else. But I mean, yeah, just as far as like the variety of recommendations we do, I definitely want to do an album next time. Yeah, so hopefully we'll keep it as balanced as movies.
Yeah,
and I hope you guys enjoy it. I really liked it. So
and it was what again?
Extras by Ricky Gervais. It's from like the mid-2000s.
Okay, all right, yeah. So watch that before the next episode next month. We'll try to get the time between these episodes. By that I mean the time between when they come out a little more consistent. Just because everyone's schedules and stuff like that gets in the way. And just try to get them out a lot sooner than we've kind of have been, and be a little more consistent with that. Yeah. Other than that, that's it from us. See ya.
Bye.
Bruh.